The millionaire CEO thought he had everything under control until he discovered the nanny was pregnant with his second child. In that moment, something unexpected happened. He fell in love for real. But before we dive into the full story, let me know where you're watching from and what time it is. Now, subscribe to the channel and let's get started. Night had fallen like a velvet curtain over the imposing skyline of Miami. In the highest penthouse of the city's most exclusive district, CEO Nathaniel Hawthorne paced across the polished marble floor, phone pressed to his ear, his reflection gliding along the colossal windows. Down below, streets pulsated with neon lights and the hum of late-night traffic, but up here, a tense hush enveloped everything. "I said I want those numbers by tomorrow." His voice echoed in the vast living room. He ended the call abruptly, tossing the phone onto an expensive leather sofa. For any outsider looking in, Nathaniel's life seemed immaculate. An empire built from scratch, a fortune measured in billions, and a commanding presence that, at just 34, placed him among the world's top CEOs. Yet behind the facade, a certain emptiness gnawed at him. He'd been called ruthless. Some even claimed he had a heart made of steel. But there were nights, like this one, when shadows of regret flitted across his face, quickly hidden behind duty and ambition. His father's legacy, the vow to never be as gullible as the old man had been in business, the promise to always protect the Hawthorne name, each vow was like a stone on his shoulders. And so he fought, crushed competitors, and built an empire with unstoppable momentum. In a more modest area of the city, though hardly any less spectacular, stood Nathaniel's private estate, an extravagant mansion set behind tall iron gates, complete with lush gardens that spilled into an orchard filled with orange blossoms and lemon trees. This property, overshadowed by the towering hawthorns that lent Nathaniel's family its name, had once been a place of warm celebrations. Now, mostly quiet, it harbored only a skeleton staff of housekeepers, security, and a single nanny caring for Nathaniel's little boy. Her name was Lily Summers. She arrived 6 months ago, recommended by a friend of a friend. Timid but determined, Lily took the job because it paid well enough to help her mother, who needed expensive medical treatments back home in a rural town. At first glance, Lily was simply one more employee in the giant orbit of Hawthorne Enterprises. But from the moment she set foot on these lavish grounds, her life, and Nathaniel's, veered onto a path neither could have foreseen. That same night, while Nathaniel barked orders into his phone from his penthouse, Lily was in the mansion's nursery, reading a story to Nathaniel's 6-year-old son, Oliver. Tucked under a blue quilt embroidered with the Hawthorne crest, the boy giggled at Lily's animated reading. Her voice rose and fell with each whimsical character in the story. She had a warmth to her that soothed Oliver as though she were a sister or a friend. And from his wide-eyed excitement, Lily could tell Oliver rarely heard bedtime stories with such tenderness. And the brave night charged through the woods. Lily paused, noticing Oliver's sleepy lids drooping. She carefully closed the book, a fond smile on her lips. "We'll finish tomorrow, okay?" Oliver nodded, his voice subdued with drowsiness. "Lily, promise you won't go anywhere?" She patted his hand gently. "I'm right here. You'll be safe. Now get some rest." Though the child soon drifted off, Lily remained by his side for a few extra minutes, compelled by a quiet protectiveness she couldn't explain. She recalled the job interview, so quick, so formal, and how Nathaniel hardly seemed to register her presence. To him, she was just another professional caretaker, but she'd glimpsed a glimmer of sadness in his eyes that day. A second's worth, and then it was gone behind a polite, business-like facade. Maybe he loved his son but didn't know how to show it. Or perhaps, weighed by responsibilities, he couldn't find a way to be the father he wanted to be. Outside, the moon cast a silvery glow on the orchard. Lily walked down the winding hallway, passing centuries-old portraits. Antique frames loomed on the walls, reminding her that this was a house with a grand past, though she sensed an undercurrent of loneliness within every corridor. Her steps led her to her own small room near the staff wing, yet sleep wouldn't come. She leaned on the windowsill, letting the orchard's scent drift in. Lost in thought, she placed a hand gently on her abdomen. A faint flutter answered from within. 3 months before she got this job, Lily discovered she was pregnant. The father was a man who vanished from her life as soon as responsibility reared its head. With no support and mounting bills for her mother's health, Lily accepted the nanny position. She'd told no one about her condition, determined to keep it concealed until she could secure enough savings. If they found out, they might dismiss her. Then what? She would lose everything. In quieter moments, Lily wondered if she'd done the right thing hiding the pregnancy. Her clothes had grown looser, the mornings more difficult. Still, she carried on, hoping the time she needed wouldn't run out. She told herself this was temporary, just enough money to keep her and her unborn baby afloat. But she hadn't counted on growing so attached to Oliver or so fascinated by her mysterious employer. Each day the boy's innocence tugged at her heart. Each night, Lily caught glimpses of Nathaniel's presence. She'd see him slip into Oliver's room after returning from the city. Wariness etched into his posture. The distance between father and son was palpable, a gulf formed by miscommunication or fear. Lily wanted to help, yet she had secrets of her own. And so, an unspoken tension hovered in the corridors, as though waiting for something, someone, to crack it open. That night, Nathaniel arrived unexpectedly. The mansion came alive with the hum of the main gates, the shuffle of security detail. Lily hurried downstairs, wondering if Oliver might wake at the sound of commotion. Instead, she spotted the figure of her employer crossing the grand foyer, flanked by 2 assistants carrying file boxes. He exuded confidence. Tall, dark hair slicked back, wearing a suit that screamed wealth. Yet Lily glimpsed circles under his eyes. He seemed more exhausted than usual. He paused at the foot of the marble staircase, noticing her for the first time that evening. He gave a curt nod. "Miss Summers." His voice was formal but not unkind. "Welcome home, Mr. Hawthorne," Lily answered quietly, lowering her gaze. "Oliver's already asleep." Nathaniel sighed, gesturing for his assistants to go on without him. "I'll check on him soon." There was an awkward pause. Sometimes Lily felt the urge to say something, anything to bridge that emptiness within him, but it never felt like her place. So she nodded politely and left him to his thoughts. As Nathaniel ascended the stairs, he cast a lingering glance over his shoulder. For a split second, Lily thought he might speak, but then he turned away, retreating into the shadows. Alone in the foyer, Lily's heart thudded. Soon, she told herself, she would gather enough money for her mother's final set of treatments, keep some aside for the baby's arrival, and quietly step out of the Hawthorne world. It had to be that way. In these luxurious hallways, Lily was an outsider. She never wanted to imagine that her unborn child could be part of a life so far removed from her own roots. Yet destiny had other plans, and secrets have a way of surfacing when you least expect them. Over the coming weeks, a cascade of revelations would test Lily's resolve and Nathaniel's conscience. An innocent boy's happiness, a father's hidden grief, a nanny's unborn child, and a love that no one saw coming. Because, unbeknownst to either of them, Lily carried Nathaniel's second child, a piece of a past the CEO had locked away deep in his memory. 2 days later, Lily Summers found herself up before dawn, smoothing wrinkles from her simple blouse while her mind spun over the day ahead. She'd scarcely slept, plagued by concern over her mother's health, her growing pregnancy, and the distant yet lingering tension in the Hawthorne household. This morning, Lily had to accompany Oliver to a doctor's checkup in the city, one of the tasks Nathaniel normally delegated to personal assistants. But given how frantic the CEO's schedule was, Lily volunteered, hoping the short outing would do Oliver good. Outside, the morning sun glimmered across the estate's manicured lawns. Oliver, still rumpled with sleep, clung to Lily's hand as they strolled toward the sleek black car that was waiting. The driver opened the door, greeting them with a cordial nod. Lily helped Oliver climb in, then settled into the back seat herself. The quiet ride into downtown Miami gave her space to think. She wasn't sure if Nathaniel would meet them at the clinic or if he'd show up at all. Lately, he'd been swamped with board meetings and last-minute investor calls. Even if he were free, Lily doubted he'd choose to spend his morning in a pediatric waiting room. Still, she understood that the father and son's bond might deepen if only Nathaniel could spare some of his precious time. Each day, Lily's heart ached a little for Oliver. The boy brimmed with curiosity, always ready with 1,000 questions that Lily tried her best to answer. But there were certain voids only a father's presence could fill. When they arrived, Lily led Oliver inside the clinic's bright lobby. A handful of other parents and children waited patiently in rows of plastic chairs. Some recognized Oliver. His father was, after all, one of the wealthiest men in the region. Yet the boy's sweet manners kept any hush of gossip at bay. Soon enough, a nurse called them back to an examination room. Oliver perched on the exam table, his legs dangling. Lily stood beside him, answering the nurse's routine questions. Height, weight, general behavior. The boy's health was fine, aside from the occasional sniffles, and the pediatrician was delighted with his progress. In the quiet moment, as Lily brushed Oliver's hair aside tenderly, the old pang of guilt rose in her. "He's not your child, Lily. You're only the nanny." Even so, she would protect him with her life. Midway through the exam, a soft knock sounded on the door. To Lily's astonishment, Nathaniel stepped in, wearing a tailored suit but no tie, as though he had rushed from another engagement. Oliver's face lit up. "Dad!" the boy exclaimed, surprise evident in his bright grin. Nathaniel managed a small smile in return. "Hey, kiddo!" He glanced briefly at Lily, his expression unreadable. She offered him a reserved nod, then shifted aside so he could stand closer to his son. The nurse resumed measuring Oliver's blood pressure, trying not to fidget under the imposing CEO's watch. In those few minutes, Lily watched father and son from the corner of her eye. Beneath Nathaniel's imposing stance was an awkwardness that softened each time Oliver looked up at him. It reminded Lily of a frightened man edging near a bond he yearned for, yet didn't know how to keep. When the nurse finished and the pediatrician declared Oliver in perfect health, Nathaniel ruffled the boy's hair in a slightly stiff gesture of affection. "Glad you're doing well, buddy," he said. Oliver beamed. Lily's chest constricted at the sight, wishing more moments like this could fill Oliver's days. As they were leaving the clinic, Lily excused herself to the restroom. She needed a moment, both to quell the nausea that had been stirring all morning and to gather her thoughts. She splashed water on her face, noticing how pale she looked. She was well into her first trimester, and while the pregnancy wasn't overtly visible, her body felt every shift and symptom. She gripped the sink. Just a few more months, she told herself. If she could hold on, keep her secret safe, she'd earn enough money for the baby's needs and her mother's medical bills. And then she would discreetly depart this gilded cage, letting the hawthorns remain none the wiser. After a few steadying breaths, Lily returned to the lobby. Nathaniel was seated in a stiff plastic chair, scanning something on his phone. Oliver had found a child-sized table with coloring pages and crayons, busily scribbling away. Lily approached quietly, and Nathaniel looked up. "I had an opening in my schedule," he offered as explanation, placing his phone inside his blazer. "Thought I should be here." Her heart fluttered with a strange relief. "I'm sure Oliver appreciates it." Nathaniel nodded, expression distant. After a pause, he cleared his throat. "Listen, there's something I wanted to discuss with you, but maybe this isn't the best place. Are you free for a moment after we get back?" Lily's pulse quickened. "Yes, of course." He glanced at Oliver, too absorbed in coloring to notice their exchange, then gave Lily a faint, almost apologetic smile. "All right." Back at the Hawthorne mansion, Lily ushered Oliver to his favorite corner of the living room, where a small bookshelf was lined with fairy tales and adventure stories. The boy wanted to show her the drawings he'd made at the clinic, each more vibrant and imaginative than the last. While he prattled on excitedly, Lily's mind raced about Nathaniel's request. Her immediate fear was that she'd somehow slipped up. Perhaps he'd noticed her health changes, or heard an odd rumor, or maybe— "Miss Summers?" The deep voice behind her made her turn, heart jumping. Nathaniel stood there, hands in his pockets. "Mind if we speak in my office?" Lily rose quietly, giving Oliver a gentle pat on the shoulder before following the CEO down the corridor. Each step weighed heavily. She tried to control the tension in her shoulders, hoping it didn't show. They arrived at a set of carved double doors, Nathaniel's private study. Inside, the walls were lined with glass cases of fine whiskies and shelves of financial tomes. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panorama of the orchard. He gestured for Lily to have a seat in one of two black leather chairs. Nathaniel circled behind a massive desk, then remained standing, arms folded. "First off, I want to thank you for handling Oliver's appointments," he said in a low voice. "I know that's not necessarily in your contract, but you've been going beyond what's asked." "It's no problem," Lily replied, forcing composure. "He's a wonderful child. I'm glad to help." "Yes." A slight pause. Nathaniel's gaze drifted to the orchard before returning to her, suddenly more intense. "He talks about you constantly. I appreciate that you've cared for him so well." Lily's breath caught. "I'm only doing my job, Mr. Hawthorne." "That's exactly it. You're doing more than a job," he said quietly. "You've somehow—" He stopped, struggling for words. "You've made him laugh and trust people again in a way he hadn't since—" Nathaniel swallowed. "Since his mother left." Lily had heard rumors that Oliver's mother had walked away years ago, but the details were murky. She softened her tone. "I'm sure he just needed some attention. He's bright and curious." A shadow flickered over Nathaniel's face. "I've been thinking perhaps we can arrange more stable hours for you, maybe a full-time permanent arrangement. You'd obviously be compensated accordingly." Her shoulders tightened. Full-time? Permanently? That would mean Lily living in closer quarters with Oliver, and Nathaniel indefinitely. Keeping her pregnancy hidden under those conditions would grow harder by the day. But the money? She pressed her palms against her knees, warring with her own thoughts. Mr. Hawthorne, I'm flattered by the offer. It's just, I have some obligations outside of work that might—" He held up a hand, halting her. "Please think about it. I'm not demanding an immediate decision." His expression softened fractionally. "If it helps, I'd be willing to negotiate better terms for your mother's medical coverage. She's still in treatment, right?" Lily's entire body went cold. "How did you—" He gave a faint shrug. "Your references mentioned you had a family concern. I looked into your file. Just wanted to be sure everything was stable. This would be an official extension of your employment. Company benefits, health insurance that extends to immediate family members." She stared at him, mind whirling. This was the break she so desperately needed, and her heart hammered with both hope and panic. "That's extremely generous." "It's practical," he said, tone clipped. "You're an excellent caretaker. It's in Oliver's best interest that you stay. And if that means improving your mother's care, I'll do it." Silence wrapped around them, thick and loaded with unspoken truths. Lily was painfully aware that each second brought her unborn child's reality closer to unraveling. And now, with this offer, her mother's salvation seemed within reach. She swallowed the knot in her throat. "I'll consider it. Thank you." Nathaniel exhaled as though relieved. "Good. Let me know. In the meantime, if you need anything, Anything at all, just come to me." She nodded, rising from the chair. Their eyes met briefly, and in that fraction of time she sensed an undercurrent, a flicker of recognition or longing that he quickly buried under his usual reserve. It sent a strange rush through her, a mix of fear, guilt, and a flutter of something almost warm. Excusing herself, Lily stepped into the hallway, her heart pounding. The orchard sunlight streamed through the tall windows, highlighting the swirling dust motes. With trembling hands, she pressed a palm gently against her midsection, feeling that subtle flutter inside. Every day the baby felt a little more real, a little more impossible to hide. And every day, Nathaniel's presence loomed bigger, offering both temptation and danger. At the far end of the corridor, Oliver spotted her and came running with a grin. He showed off another drawing, this one of two figures holding hands in front of a large house. A small dog-like scribble scampered at their feet. "It's you and me," Oliver announced proudly. Lily's throat closed up. "It's beautiful," she whispered. As she admired the child's crayon art, her mind echoed with Nathaniel's words. A permanent job, full coverage for her mother's treatments, a chance for real security. She exhaled shakily, wishing life didn't have to be so complicated. Little did Lily know that fate was weaving a path she wouldn't be able to turn away from, a path that would reveal her pregnancy sooner than she'd ever intended, and force Nathaniel to face all the walls he'd erected around his heart. The midday sun filtered softly through the enormous bay windows of the Hawthorne Mansion's living room, illuminating Oliver's crayons scattered on the coffee table. Lily moved around tidying up, carefully placing the child's art supplies into a neat plastic container. She glanced toward the grand staircase every so often, her mind caught in a whirl of new worries. Nathaniel's offer of a permanent contract, the enticing promise of extended health coverage, the unstoppable ticking of her own secret pregnancy. She tried to steel herself to remain calm in front of Oliver, who was rolling a toy car across the carpet nearby. But her composure wavered each time her thoughts strayed to what might happen if Nathaniel or someone else discovered the truth. She was only 3 months pregnant, but she'd been battling fatigue, bouts of nausea, and a growing anxiety that she wouldn't be able to conceal her swelling stomach for much longer. All it would take was one moment of inattention, a slip of her hand over the curve of her belly for the puzzle pieces to align in Nathaniel's mind. From the hallway came the sound of confident, brisk footsteps. Lily recognized them immediately. Nathaniel. He entered, phone in hand, speaking in a low, urgent tone. Oliver perked up. "Dad," he called brightly. Nathaniel paused, glancing at his phone. "Give me a second," he murmured into the device, then ended the call. He tried to force a smile, but Lily could see tension etched across his features. "Everything okay here?" he asked, his gaze darting between Oliver and Lily. "All good," Lily replied. She made sure her voice was steady. "We were just finishing lunch. Oliver's about to start his reading practice." Oliver beamed, jumping up with his book in hand. "Dad, can you listen to me read?" Nathaniel hesitated. He seemed ready to deflect, but then he caught Lily's eyes. She offered him an encouraging nod. So, exhaling, Nathaniel set down his phone. "Sure," he said, trying for a warmer tone. They moved to the sofa. Oliver nestled between them, opening the book of short stories. For a few minutes, the child read aloud, stumbling over a word or two, his small finger tracing each line. Lily watched from the side, quietly touched. She knew how rarely father and son spent time like this. Although Nathaniel's posture was a bit stiff, a genuine pride flickered in his eyes when Oliver managed a particularly tough sentence. "That's great, buddy," Nathaniel said softly, resting a hand on his son's shoulder. Oliver beamed as though he'd won an award. Across from them, Lily caught herself smiling. In that brief moment, the tension seemed to melt away. This is what Oliver has needed, she thought. And maybe Nathaniel, too. The peaceful interval was interrupted by the chiming ring of Nathaniel's phone. He glanced at the screen, brows knitting. "I'm sorry, Ollie," he muttered, pulling away to answer. "Yes, Julio?" He rose from the sofa, stepping into the adjacent hallway to continue the conversation. Oliver's shoulders slumped slightly. Lily patted the boy's hand. "He'll be back," she whispered. A minute later, Nathaniel poked his head around the corner. "I have to deal with an urgent matter at the office. Oliver, do your best with your reading, okay?" Then he looked at Lily. "Miss Summers, could I talk to you for a moment before I leave?" She nodded, feeling her heart rate spike again. Leaving Oliver contently flipping the book's pages, Lily followed Nathaniel into the foyer. His driver was already waiting near the door, but Nathaniel turned to Lily, voice hushed. "I wanted to know if you'd had any more thoughts about the permanent position?" He hesitated, as though choosing his words. "The arrangement could start as soon as this week. I can ensure that your mother's next round of treatments are covered, immediately." Her pulse raced. A swirl of gratitude and fear nearly overwhelmed her. She gave a small nod, swallowing hard. "It would help me a lot," she finally admitted. "I think I'd like to accept, Mr. Hawthorne." A flash of relief, maybe even pleasure, crossed his face. "Good, very good," he said, voice gentler than usual. "My legal team will prepare the contract. I'll have it sent to you this evening. If you need to negotiate anything, just let me know." She managed a weak smile. "Thank you." His phone buzzed again, an incessant summons from the world of high finance. He huffed an exasperated breath. "I'll see you tonight. If Oliver needs anything, you have my number." And with that, he was gone, the door swinging closed behind him. Lily stood in the foyer, a flutter in her chest. She'd just taken a major step toward securing her mother's care and her unborn baby's future. Yet the sense of stepping off a ledge wouldn't leave her. She placed a hand over her abdomen. She couldn't guess how Nathaniel would react to her secret. She had no illusions about how scandalized he might feel or how quickly he might retract any generosity. "Maybe it's better not to tell him," a voice whispered in her mind. "This baby was never part of his plan, and you're just the nanny." But secrets had a way of upending everything. She'd soon find this out in ways she never expected. Later that evening, Lily found herself in her small bedroom near the servants' quarters, scanning the first draft of the contract. A hush enveloped the mansion. Oliver had been put to bed and the staff had mostly retired. The only sound was the faint hum of the air conditioner. She read carefully. The salary was generous, the benefits extensive, and indeed it listed coverage for a dependent parent's medical expenses. Her eyes welled with tears. Relief warred with guilt. This was exactly what she needed, just as her mother's hospital had informed her that a more aggressive and costly treatment might be necessary. "Maybe you can give your child a better life too," the soft voice of hope whispered. She refused to let herself think too far ahead. Soon, Lily might have enough saved to move somewhere discreet once the baby was born. She set aside the papers, folding them carefully. Tomorrow she'd sign. Tomorrow, her mother would finally receive the help she needed. Lily flipped off the bedside lamp, letting darkness settle. Sleep didn't come easily. Her mind played out dozens of scenarios, half-formed fantasies of a different life. She only dozed off in the early hours, so it felt like she'd only blinked when the morning light filtered in through thin curtains. A soft knock on her door startled her fully awake. "Miss Summers?" came a woman's voice. Maria, the longtime housekeeper. "I'm sorry, but Mr. Hawthorne asked for you. He wants to speak to you in his study." Lily's stomach clenched. "I'll be right there." Quickly brushing her hair and throwing on a fresh blouse, she made her way upstairs. She tried to quell her nerves, wondering what had happened overnight. She found Nathaniel behind his desk, flipping through documents. He gestured for her to sit. "Morning," he said, meeting her gaze briefly before returning to the papers. "I wanted to go over some final points in the contract and also discuss Oliver's schedule now that you'll be full-time." Lily exhaled quietly, easing into the chair. "I'm ready." Nathaniel began outlining a more structured routine. Academic sessions with a private tutor 3 days a week, afternoon sports or music lessons on other days, and a consistent bedtime schedule. Lily listened attentively, chiming in with suggestions. She was relieved that it all seemed manageable. He was especially keen on having Oliver's days well-balanced, which spoke to a father trying to do his best, even if from a distance. "Also," Nathaniel continued, "I wanted to invite you to come along on a short trip this weekend, purely for Oliver's benefit. There's a charity polo match upstate. I have to attend, and Oliver rarely sees the countryside. I thought it might be good for him to get out of the city. If you're comfortable traveling, that is." "A trip?" Lily's eyes widened. She pictured hours in a car or private jet with Nathaniel. Her sense of control over her secret wavered. But a nanny traveling with an employer's child wasn't unusual, of course. She forced a polite nod. "Sure, if that's part of my duties." The corner of Nathaniel's mouth tugged upward. "It is, and you'd be compensated with overtime, obviously." He slid the final page of the contract across the desk. "If you're ready, just sign here." Her heart thudded. With a shaking hand, Lily took the pen. She inhaled sharply. This was it. A swirl of emotions churned in her chest. Gratitude for the stability it offered, dread for the secrets she still harbored. The pen touched paper, and the letters of her name formed one after another. She set the pen down, feeling as though an invisible line had been crossed. "Thank you," Nathaniel said quietly. He slipped the document into a folder. "Oliver will be thrilled. He's always asking where you are the minute you leave his sight." A gentle warmth touched Lily's cheeks. "He's a wonderful kid, easy to love." Something in Nathaniel's face changed, an almost yearning look that he quickly stifled. Before Lily could decipher it, he nodded curtly. "We'll head upstate on Friday morning. I'll have the house staff help you prepare." She rose, murmuring a polite goodbye, and exited the study. Already she felt the mansion's air shift. Her role in this world was no longer temporary. She was, in effect, bound more tightly to the Hawthorne family than ever before. That evening, Lily prepared Oliver for bed with the usual reading routine. His eyes sparkled as she recounted a story about pirates and treasure islands, and when the last page turned, he blurted out, "Dad told me we're going to watch horses run this weekend, and you're coming too, right?" "I sure am," Lily answered, tucking the covers around him. She tried to smile for Oliver's sake, though her insides churned. Oliver sighed contentedly, hugging a plush giraffe close. "I like it when we do things together. You make things fun, Lily." Her chest squeezed with an ache. "I'm happy to be here, Oliver, I really am. Now get some sleep, okay?" He closed his eyes, drifting off with surprising ease. Lily quietly stood, flicking off the light and leaving the door open just a crack. She stepped into the hallway only to freeze at the sight of Nathaniel leaning against the wall, arms crossed. How long had he been there? He gave a small nod of acknowledgement. "He's fond of you. More than he's been of any caretaker in years." Lily offered a small smile. I'm glad. He's special." Nathaniel studied her face intently. She could hardly hold his gaze without feeling unsteady. His presence filled the hallway, so different from the carefree warmth of Oliver. The flickering sconce on the wall cast fleeting shadows across his features. "You're special too, Miss Summers," he said softly, surprising her. Then, perhaps realizing he'd said more than intended, he cleared his throat. "I mean, you've managed to connect with him in a way that's difficult for most." Her cheeks warmed. "Well, thank you for saying that." They stood there for a few taut moments, the hush of the corridor growing charged. She could see questions behind his eyes, something struggling to break free. Perhaps he saw the tired lines on her face, or some clue that hinted at her own burdens. But before the silence could deepen, a distant ring echoed from Nathaniel's phone. He tore his gaze away, pulling the device from his pocket. "Work never ends," he muttered, pressing the phone to his ear. "Yes, what is it?" He retreated from the hallway, voice already shifting into the realm of business deals and transactions. Lily exhaled shakily once he was gone. Every encounter with him left her nerves dancing. She slipped down to her room, closing the door behind her, leaning against it as her heart throbbed. Pressing a hand to her abdomen, she whispered silently to the baby inside, "I hope I'm doing the right thing." Friday morning arrived faster than Lily expected. Suitcases were packed, the schedule arranged. She and Oliver were to accompany Nathaniel on a 2-day trip to the countryside for the charity polo event. The house staff loaded everything into one of Nathaniel's luxury SUVs. As they climbed into the back seat, Oliver bouncing with excitement, Lily couldn't help a swirl of apprehension. Nathaniel slipped into the front passenger seat, tapping at a tablet, likely finalizing business details. Yet, as the engine purred and the SUV rolled off the grand driveway, Lily noticed him occasionally glancing into the rearview mirror at them. Once, their eyes met, and his lips curved in a faint, thoughtful smile. The roads leading out of Miami shimmered in the bright morning sun. Skyscrapers gave way to sprawling suburban landscapes, then gradually to stretches of green farmland. Oliver chattered, pointing out horses grazing by the roadside, bright barns popping up along the horizon. Lily couldn't help but admire the boy's wonder. A pang struck her. Soon she'd have another child who might look at the world with that same innocent awe. Her child. A half-sibling Oliver might never know. A hush eventually fell in the car. The driver navigated expertly, occasionally coordinating route details with Nathaniel. Lily gazed out the window, letting the endless pastures calm her. From time to time she glanced at Nathaniel's reflection up front, studying the tension in his jaw, the flicker of worry in his eyes. Was business truly that pressing, or did something else gnaw at him? She was jolted from her thoughts when Oliver tugged on her sleeve. "Lily? How come Dad's always so serious?" She blinked, then forced a soft laugh. "He has a big job, sweetheart. Lots of people rely on him, so he has a lot on his mind." Oliver nodded sagely, as though deciding whether to accept that explanation. "He used to laugh more, I think. Sometimes I see old photos of him and Mom." He stopped. Lily felt the boy's shift in mood. She put an arm gently around his shoulders. "I'm sure he wants to laugh more often. Maybe we can help him bit by bit." Oliver cast her a shy smile. "Maybe." The SUV turned onto a winding driveway lined with tall cypress trees. Up ahead, a vast estate unfolded, rolling lawns, a fence-enclosed polo field, and a colonial-style mansion at the top of a gentle rise. Cars filled the gravel parking area. Clearly, this charity match was a major social event. Men in expensive suits and women in elegant dresses moved about, greeting each other with air kisses and exclamations. As the driver pulled to a stop, Nathaniel took a moment to speak quietly to Lily and Oliver. "We'll be here a couple of hours for the match. Then there's a luncheon and an auction. After that, we'll head to the countryside villa I've rented for the night." Oliver clapped his hands, excited. Lily nodded, stepping out of the car carefully. The midday sun was bright. She inhaled the scent of freshly cut grass. Crisp air, different from the city's humidity, filled her lungs. For a fleeting moment, it felt refreshing, a respite from her usual tensions. But as they made their way toward the field, Lily's anxiety flared. The crowd was mostly high-society patrons, old-money families, and business magnates. Dozens of eyes scanning faces, searching for the who's who. She felt out of place in her simple, though neatly pressed, dress. Oliver's small hand clung to hers, anchoring her. Nathaniel walked a few steps ahead, greeted by polite waves and nods from other VIP guests. Every now and then he looked back to check on them. They settled in a shaded VIP area near the edge of the polo field. Nathaniel introduced Lily to a few associates as Oliver's nanny, and they smiled politely, turning back to him for business chatter. Oliver grew restless, so Lily led him closer to the fence where the horses stood waiting for the match to begin. The animals, sleek and strong, fascinated the boy. A woman with immaculate hair and a designer dress approached, carrying a glass of champagne. "Oh my goodness, Oliver, you've grown so much!" she cooed, though her eyes slid over Lily with a dismissive once-over. "I'm Cassandra Whitney, your father's friend. Where is dear Nathaniel?" Her tone was all sugar and polished steel. Lily began, but Cassandra hardly waited. "Never mind," she said with a bright smile. "You must be the new nanny I've heard about. My dear, it's so admirable you're looking after Oliver." Then, with a theatrical wink at the child, she added, "But keep an eye on him if you wander around. Some areas might not be safe for children." The condescension crackled in the air. Lily, mustering her composure, replied, "Yes, of course. I'll watch him carefully." Cassandra flashed a tight grin like a cat playing with a mouse. "Wonderful. Well, do enjoy the festivities." She floated away to rejoin a gaggle of similarly dressed women. Oliver looked up, confused. "She was kinda weird." Lily stifled a smile. "She's just someone your dad knows. Come on, let's go see if we can find a better spot to watch the horses." They wandered a short distance along the fence, occasionally glimpsing Nathaniel in animated conversation across the field. Oliver pointed excitedly at a polo pony prancing about. Lily relaxed a fraction, enough to appreciate the breeze and the bright sky. Then, out of nowhere, a sudden wave of dizziness hit her. She pressed a hand to her temple, vision swimming. "Lily? Are you okay?" Oliver's concerned voice cut through the haze. She struggled to steady her breathing. Her pregnancy symptoms had been mild for the last day or two, but apparently the combination of heat and nerves was too much. She swallowed, focusing on Oliver. Yes, just a little lightheaded. Let's head back to the shade." Oliver nodded, guiding her with surprising care. They returned to the canopied seating area. Lily sank onto a cushioned bench, exhaling slowly. Should she have declined the trip? She didn't want to alarm Oliver, nor risk Nathaniel discovering her predicament in a public place. "Better?" Oliver asked gently. "Yes," she said, smiling bravely. "Thank you, Oliver." As the match was about to begin, Lily saw Nathaniel peel away from his group of associates, scanning the crowd until he spotted them. He strode over, expression tight with concern. "Is everything all right? You look pale." "Oh, I'm fine, just got a bit overheated," Lily said, trying to sound confident. "A little rest in the shade will help." Nathaniel frowned, taking in the subtle sheen of sweat on her brow. For a moment, Lily worried that he'd push the issue. Instead, he nodded, though his gaze lingered on her with a hint of apprehension. "Let me know if you need anything." Then the announcer's voice boomed over the loudspeakers, and everyone's attention turned to the field. The polo match commenced amid cheers and applause. Oliver clapped enthusiastically, pointing each time a player steered the ball across the grass. Lily tried to focus on the spectacle, but the pounding in her head persisted, shadows dancing at the edge of her vision. She breathed slowly, reminding herself that once they reached the villa, she could find some privacy, maybe a chance to lie down. Little did she realize that amid the glamour and social whirl, her secret was balancing on a knife's edge. All it would take was one suspicious onlooker, one unguarded moment of vulnerability. And the weekend had only just begun. The polo match concluded with rousing cheers as the winning team trotted off the field, mallets raised in triumph. Oliver jumped up and down, delighted by the thunder of hooves and the excited atmosphere. Lily stood behind him, clapping politely, though her head still throbbed dully. She glanced around, relieved that no one seemed to have noticed her slight falter earlier. Everyone was too absorbed in the pageantry of the event. Nathaniel, having just exchanged formal congratulations with a few of the players, walked over to them. Several admirers and business contacts hovered near him, but he dismissed them with courteous nods. He stooped to Oliver's level, ruffling the boy's hair. Enjoy it? Oliver beamed. It was awesome. The horses were so fast. Nathaniel's lips curved in a half smile. I'm glad. Then he stood, shifting his gaze to Lily. The luncheon is set up on the far side. We can walk over or take a golf cart. Lily, aware of her earlier dizzy spell, tried to gauge if her legs would hold up for the stroll. A golf cart might be easier, so Oliver doesn't get too tired, she said quickly, disguising her own concern. Nathaniel signaled to an attendant. Soon, a shiny white golf cart rolled up, the driver tipping his cap. Lily guided Oliver onto one seat, and Nathaniel settled beside the boy. She took a place on the opposite side, gripping the small metal bar for support. They traversed a winding path lined with hedges and bright flower beds until they reached a grand terrace where tables were elegantly draped in linens, bouquets of fresh hydrangeas crowning each centerpiece. Laughter and clinking glasses floated through the air as they arrived. Attendants guided them to a reserved table near the terrace's edge, offering a lovely view of rolling green fields. Champagne flutes and silverware gleamed in the midday sun. Despite the opulent surroundings, Oliver turned to Lily. I'm hungry, he whispered. Do they have sandwiches? She stifled a laugh and patted his shoulder. I'm sure we'll find something you like. Then she glanced at Nathaniel, whose phone was once again buzzing on the table. He picked it up briefly, silencing the ringer, and gave Lily an apologetic glance. If you'd like, feel free to pick out a plate of food for Oliver from the buffet. I'll be here if you need anything. Lily nodded and stood, gently taking Oliver's hand. The buffet area was set up in a covered pavilion adjacent to the terrace, offering everything from carved roast beef to delicate pastries. Men in tailored suits and women in designer dresses fluttered around, balancing plates of gourmet canapés. Lily kept Oliver close, guiding him through the bustle as they selected some mini sandwiches, fruit, and a small pastry. As she helped Oliver fill his plate, Lily felt a sudden tap on her shoulder. She turned to see Cassandra Whitney, the same impeccably coiffed woman from earlier, smiling with the practiced graciousness of high society. Well, look at you two. Did you enjoy the match? Oliver nodded politely, but Lily, remembering Cassandra's earlier condescension, forced a neutral expression. Yes, it was wonderful. Oliver loved it. Cassandra's gaze trailed over Lily's dress and then settled on Oliver. Darling boy, she said sweetly, your father is so busy I do hope he's finding enough time for you. She tisked lightly, swirling the champagne in her glass before turning her full attention back to Lily. You must have quite the responsibility, Miss... I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. Lily Summers, she said, standing a bit straighter. Oliver's nanny. Of course, Cassandra drawled, arching a brow. A big role. I imagine you see more of Nathaniel than anyone else these days. She gave a small laugh, though her eyes sparkled with curiosity. He's not exactly known for taking time off. And you're new, yes? We heard the last nanny left under complicated circumstances. Lily's pulse skipped uncomfortably. She hadn't heard any mention of the previous nanny's reasons for leaving. Maybe it was just gossip. Keeping her composure, she offered a polite smile. I've only been working with Oliver for a few months, she replied. He's a wonderful child. Cassandra pursed her lips, looking as though she might press for more details. But Oliver piped up, Dad's going to take me to see the horses after lunch. He sounded excited and proud, and it diverted Cassandra's attention. Well, that's lovely, the woman said, scanning the crowd. Do enjoy yourselves. With a parting nod, she drifted away to join another clique. Lily let out a silent breath. She gently guided Oliver back to their table, where Nathaniel was in hushed conversation with an older man. Catching sight of them, he politely ended his discussion. Everything all right? He asked Lily. She nodded, placing Oliver's plate in front of him. Yes, just ran into your friend, Cassandra. Ah. Nathaniel's face set in a tight expression. She's an acquaintance of my late father's circle. Enjoys meddling, if that's the right word. He paused, noticing Lily's tension. "If she bothered you, let me know." Lily shook her head quickly. "No, she was just making conversation." He seemed about to say more, but was interrupted by an MC stepping onto a small stage at the front of the terrace. The luncheon's formalities began. Welcoming remarks, a brief overview of the charity's mission, and finally, an auction of rare items to raise funds. Waiters glided through the tables, topping off champagne flutes. Lily stuck to water, gently sipping while Oliver, wide-eyed, listened to the flurry of numbers as guests raised bidding paddles. Several times, Lily felt that dizziness threatening to surface, so she concentrated on slow, even breaths. She told herself, "Just a few more hours and we can go to the villa." There, maybe she could claim fatigue and rest away from curious eyes. Nathaniel, though participating in the conversation, kept sneaking glances in Lily's direction as if attuned to her pallor. More than once he offered a low murmur, "Are you sure you're fine?" Only to receive Lily's reassuring nod. She smiled as best she could for Oliver's sake. Meanwhile, Cassandra floated around the tables, stopping occasionally to whisper with other guests, her gaze darting back to Lily with calculating curiosity. Once the auction ended, a bustle ensued, some guests saying their goodbyes, others mingling under the bright sun. Nathaniel stood, offering Lily a hand signal that they should slip away. She gathered Oliver, and the three walked back to the SUV. The ride to the villa was short, perhaps 20 minutes from the polo grounds. The property, as Lily discovered, was breathtaking. A Spanish-style house perched atop a gentle slope, fronted by terracotta steps. Purple bougainvillea climbed the walls. Beyond the house, endless meadows stretched under a golden afternoon light. Oliver scrambled out of the car with uncontained excitement. "Look at the flowers," he said, running a short distance to admire them. Nathaniel inhaled the fresh air, shoulders easing slightly. He turned to Lily. "I thought a quiet evening here would do us all good. The staff have prepared rooms for each of us. We can relax until dinner." "That sounds wonderful," Lily said softly. She still felt drained from the day's events. "If you don't mind, I may lie down for a bit after we settle in." Nathaniel nodded immediately. "By all means, you've done a lot today. Take whatever time you need." One of Nathaniel's personal assistants arrived shortly after with a second vehicle, carrying luggage and a private chef for dinner preparations. Lily guided Oliver into the villa, marveling at the thick wooden beams, warm terracotta floors, and wrought iron fixtures. The place felt cozy yet upscale, every corner exuding a rustic charm. Their assigned rooms were down a curved hallway. Oliver got a cheerful space with a window overlooking the meadows, and Lily's room was next door. She paused in the doorway, letting out a sigh of gratitude for the plush bed, the faint fragrance of lemon blossoms wafting through an open window. Perfect. She could rest. "You sure you're okay, Lily?" Oliver asked, the worry unmistakable in his voice. She knelt to his level. "Just a little tired, my sweet. Nothing to worry about." He nodded, then impulsively leaned in to hug her. "I'm glad you're here," he whispered, as if bestowing a serious confidence. It warmed Lily's heart. When Oliver darted away to explore, Lily pushed the door closed and finally allowed herself to collapse onto the bed. Her body felt heavier by the minute. She let out a shaky breath, pressing a palm to her midsection. The baby. Even though it was still early in the pregnancy, traveling and the stress of the day had tested her limits. She rubbed gently, as though to reassure both herself and the tiny life within. A sense of relief seeped in. For the moment at least, she was away from prying eyes. She didn't think she could handle Cassandra's suspicious scrutiny or the swirling crowd of well-heeled strangers much longer. Even Nathaniel's constant watchfulness unnerved her, yet a part of her longed for his concern, a hint that she was more than just an employee. But that was a dangerous path. She had to remain professional, keep her head down and her secret well guarded. Gradually her heartbeat slowed, her eyelids grew heavy. She drifted into a light doze, lulled by the distant hum of conversation in the villa, and the sweet, fresh breeze. An hour later, Lily awoke to a gentle tapping at her door. She blinked at the soft glow of the setting sun stretching across the room. Carefully sitting up, she realized her headache had receded somewhat, leaving behind only a mild fatigue. "Come in," she called, clearing her throat. The door opened, revealing Nathaniel with Oliver standing beside him, both looking hesitant. Oliver grinned, stepping forward. "Dad says dinner's almost ready, but I told him you were resting." Nathaniel's gaze flicked to her face. "I hope we didn't wake you too soon. The chef has prepared something for us in the dining room." "No, it's fine," Lily murmured, smoothing her hair. She managed a small smile. "I was ready to get up anyway." Oliver dashed into the room, climbing onto the foot of the bed, eyes shining. "This house is so cool. There's a pool outside, and Dad said we can maybe swim tomorrow if the weather's nice." Lily ruffled his hair. "That's great, Oliver. I'd love to see you having fun." Nathaniel lingered in the doorway. "If you feel well enough, join us. If you need more time, I can bring you a plate." His concern made Lily's chest tighten. She didn't want to appear weak or give him reasons to suspect anything. "No, I'm good. Let me just freshen up." He nodded, stepping aside so she could cross to the ensuite bathroom. As Lily closed the door, she caught a glimpse of Nathaniel guiding Oliver back into the hall, the two exchanging a quiet, private moment. It warmed her heart in a way she couldn't fully explain, and simultaneously, it fanned an old ache in her chest. There were parts of her life Nathaniel knew nothing about, parts that would inevitably clash with his orderly world. For Oliver's sake, she'd keep her secret as long as possible, but day by day, the weight grew. She splashed water on her face, took a steadying breath, and faced her own reflection in the mirror. A mother's reflection, she thought. Soon it would be undeniable. Summoning her resolve, she left the bathroom, heading off to dinner with a quiet determination. Each second spent in the Hawthorne family's orbit bound her more tightly to them and brought her closer to the moment when her hidden child would no longer remain hidden. Night descended upon the countryside villa, draping the rolling meadows in a serene hush. Soft amber lights glowed from within the Spanish-style home, casting long shadows across the terracotta courtyard. The staff had prepared a cozy dinner in the dining room, a space warmed by rustic beams and an old stone fireplace now crackling with a gentle flame. With the sound of distant crickets drifting through open windows, the scene exuded a welcoming charm that was far from the frenetic pulse of city life. Lily entered feeling a renewed sense of calm, though her heart still thumped when she caught sight of Nathaniel standing at the head of the table. Oliver was already seated, feet swinging, wearing an eager grin. The table before them was dressed in crisp white linens, set with simple yet elegant ceramic plates, wine glasses, and vases of lavender sprigs. A faint aroma of roasted herbs and fresh bread hung in the air. "Ah, there you are," Nathaniel said softly, catching Lily's eye as she approached. He gestured to a chair beside Oliver. "Please, sit." She offered a small smile and took her seat. At once, a server appeared, pouring water for Lily and offering a selection of juices for Oliver. Another server followed with covered dishes, unveiling a meal that was both homey and refined. Roasted vegetables, grilled chicken breast with lemon-thyme sauce, wild rice seasoned with herbs. Lily's stomach fluttered, both from lingering nerves and a genuine appetite. Despite the day's exhaustion, the smell of the food beckoned her to partake. Oliver leaned toward her, whispering, "Doesn't this look yummy?" She nodded. "It does. Let's enjoy every bite." Across the table, Nathaniel served himself quietly, his brow slightly furrowed as though still ruminating on a dozen business matters. Yet each time Oliver giggled or exclaimed about the meal, Nathaniel's expression softened. The flicker of fatherly warmth in his eyes made Lily's chest tighten. The first several minutes passed in companionable silence. Silverware clinked gently against plates. Oliver gave an excited review of the day's events. How quickly the polo ponies dashed across the field. How he couldn't wait to learn to ride a horse himself. "We should live here forever," he declared at one point, reaching for another roll. "It's so nice and quiet." Nathaniel let out a low chuckle. "Living here permanently might not be practical, buddy, but maybe we can visit more often." Oliver seemed placated by that, shooting Lily an enthusiastic grin. She was about to speak when a new arrival at the dining room's entrance made everyone glance up. Cassandra Whitney stood there, having apparently shown herself in without warning. She wore a chic flowing dress and carried a polished handbag. Her demeanor radiated a polite but unmistakable intrusiveness, like someone who knew she wasn't exactly invited yet didn't mind. "Good evening," she chimed, letting her gaze roam over the table. "I heard you'd all moved on to this lovely villa for the night. Apologies if I'm intruding, but I thought I should stop by and share a little something for the auction before I head back." She brandished a small, wrapped item and smiled sweetly. "I won it this afternoon, an antique brooch from the 1920s, and I wanted to donate it to your next charity event, Nathaniel." Nathaniel stood, exuding polite courtesy. "Cassandra, I wasn't expecting you, thanks for your contribution." His voice sounded a bit resigned, as if he suspected her reasons for coming extended far beyond charity. Cassandra's eyes swept to Oliver, then landed on Lily. "I see your charming Nanny is here," she noted, stepping fully into the room. "May I join you for just a moment? I'd love to say hello properly." Oliver shot Lily a confused glance. Lily fought to keep her composure. "Hello," she said, not rising but offering a polite nod. "We were just having dinner." "Lucky timing on my part," Cassandra purred. She made her way closer, placing the brooch box gently on the sideboard. Then she looked back at Nathaniel expectantly, as if awaiting an invitation to sit. Nathaniel cleared his throat. "We're finishing up, actually, but you can certainly help yourself to a drink if you like." He gestured toward an adjacent sitting area, implying that the meal was a private affair. "Yes, well, perhaps a quick drink?" Cassandra's smile didn't waver. She motioned to a nearby server who, with well-trained neutrality, offered her a wine glass. "You know, it's been so long since we've chatted properly, Nathaniel. Your father was such a dear friend of mine. I do miss him." Nathaniel's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "Yes, I remember your visits when I was younger." His tone was polite, but Lily sensed an underlying tension. "How's your family? Last I heard, your niece was off studying abroad." Cassandra launched into a brief monologue about her niece's adventures in Europe, recounting society functions and new trends. Oliver, visibly uninterested, poked at his vegetables while Lily discreetly sipped her water. The tension was palpable. She couldn't help but notice Cassandra's calculating glances every few seconds, especially whenever Lily attempted to focus on her meal. Finally, with a theatrical sigh, Cassandra shifted the conversation. "Nathaniel, you've always kept such a busy schedule. I imagine it must be a challenge juggling fatherhood and business. And this new caretaker arrangement." Her glance flickered to Lily. Quite an adjustment, I'm sure. Lily felt her heart pound. Was Cassandra fishing for gossip? She calmly placed her fork down. "Oliver is a joy to look after," she said softly. "It's been rewarding." Oliver beamed, not sensing the undercurrents. "Lily's the best nanny." Cassandra's eyes narrowed slightly with a polite smile. "Indeed, you seem devoted. And how fortunate that you're available to travel so readily." She took a deliberate sip of her wine, letting the insinuation hang in the air. Lily's hand tightened in her lap. She forced a neutral tone. "I'm here to help, wherever Oliver needs me." Nathaniel's voice cut in, quiet but firm. "Cassandra, your courtesy call is appreciated, but Lily and Oliver had a long day and I won't keep them if they're tired." Cassandra pouted charmingly, as though offended but unwilling to make a scene. "Of course. I'll just finish my wine then. She angled toward Lily, eyes bright with unasked questions. "I'm sure we'll get a chance to chat more at the next event." Lily sensed an interrogation lurking behind that statement, but she merely nodded. She turned to Oliver. "How about dessert in your room, Oliver perked up immediately. "Yes, please. I saw a plate of brownies when we came in." Nathaniel nodded, relief flashing in his gaze. "Go ahead. I'll settle things here." His attention flicked to Cassandra as if to say, "I'll escort you out soon enough." Eagerly seizing the chance to escape, Lily left with Oliver. They retraced their steps down the lantern-lit hallway toward the bedrooms. She paused at the kitchen area, discreetly asking a staff member for a small plate of brownies and fruit, then continued to Oliver's room. Once inside, Oliver climbed onto the bed, rummaging through his suitcase for pajamas. Lily set the dessert plate on a small table near the window, her own shoulders sagging. She couldn't quite block out Cassandra's thinly veiled curiosity or the fear that next time the questions might be more direct. Oliver dug into a brownie with childlike enthusiasm, swinging his legs. "That lady is kinda strange," he said, mouth full. "She said I was adorable but then kept staring at you all weird." Lily managed a soft laugh. "It's all right, Oliver. She just has different manners, I guess." She ruffled his hair. "Finish up and then it's pajamas, okay?" Once Oliver had polished off his dessert, Lily helped him wash up and slip into comfy nightclothes. He yawned, eyelids heavy after such an eventful day. Lily pulled back the covers on the small bed, helping him settle in. Outside, the breeze whispered through the villa's courtyard and the distant chirp of cicadas signaled the late hour. "Thanks for everything," Oliver mumbled, half asleep. "I like it when you're around." Warmth spread through Lily's chest. "I like being around you too," she whispered, pressing a gentle kiss to his forehead. "Good night, Oliver." She clicked off the lamp, letting only the faint corridor light illuminate the room. He was asleep within minutes, his breathing steady and peaceful. With Oliver down for the night, Lily's thoughts churned. She stepped into the hallway intending to slip to her own room. But the gentle hum of voices in the distance gave her pause. She recognized Nathaniel's low baritone, possibly still with Cassandra. Part of her wanted to avoid that encounter entirely. Yet curiosity tugged. She inched closer to the open courtyard, where Spanish tile and potted ferns glowed under discreet overhead lights. From behind a column, Lily glimpsed them. Nathaniel stood with arms crossed, Cassandra leaning in just a bit too close. Her voice carried a sing-song note of familiarity. Lily couldn't make out every word, but she caught fragments. "Your new arrangement. Unexpected. Cautious. Father's legacy." Nathaniel, in turn, spoke in clipped, firm replies that Lily barely deciphered. "Oliver's happiness. None of your concern. I'm capable." Cassandra's laughter tinkled lightly, though it lacked warmth. "You know you can trust me, Nathaniel. I only worry about the potential for scandal. If your father were alive..." Nathaniel's response was immediate, quiet steel in his voice. "That's enough, Cassandra. My father's gone, and so is your influence here." Lily's pulse hammered. She knew eavesdropping was wrong, but the tension in the air gripped her. Clearly, Cassandra was pushing some angle, warning him about scandal, referencing his father. Perhaps all of it was speculation about Lily's role in Oliver's life. Cassandra's next words came sharper. "Very well, but don't say I didn't caution you. This nanny, whatever her background, perhaps it's wise to ensure no skeletons come to light. For your sake, for Oliver's too." A chill coursed through Lily. The gentle hush of the countryside felt suddenly oppressive. She leaned back, heart pounding, the meaning of those words echoing in her mind. Cassandra might already suspect Lily was hiding something, or maybe she was just fishing for leverage. Either way, Lily's vulnerability felt more exposed than ever. Nathaniel ended the conversation curtly. "Good night, Cassandra." The click of his shoes on the tile signaled he was done listening. Lily slipped away, heart in her throat, and hurried down the hallway toward her room. She managed to step inside and close the door just in time to avoid being seen. There, in the dim glow of a small lamp, she sagged against the wall, pressing a hand over her abdomen. The stress of the day was almost suffocating. "I won't let anyone take this away from us," she whispered, as though to her unborn child. "I promise?" She felt foolish talking to thin air, but her fear was real. Fear of losing her job, her security, her standing with Oliver. Fear that once Nathaniel learned the truth, everything would blow apart. She sank onto the bed, exhaustion weighting her limbs. The tension in Cassandra's voice replayed in her ears. Lily worried that tonight's confrontation might be just the beginning. Sooner or later, her growing pregnancy would become impossible to hide, and if Cassandra's meddling hinted at anything, it was that secrets had a way of surfacing in the worst possible way. For the moment, though, she was safe. Oliver asleep in the next room, Nathaniel likely ensuring Cassandra's exit. Lily closed her eyes, letting the rhythm of her breathing slowly calm her. Outside, the distant call of a night bird reverberated, a strange comfort in the silence. Tomorrow, they'd still be in this countryside retreat, a place of beauty and quiet. Maybe, just maybe, Lily could cling to a few more hours of peace before the storm raging below the surface broke free. Dawn broke gently over the villa, spilling warm light across the fields where a light mist lingered in pockets. From Lily's room she could see orange and pink hues brightening the horizon. Even after a restless night haunted by Cassandra's pointed words, Lily couldn't deny the serene beauty of this place, a stark contrast to the tension gripping her heart. She rose, dressed in a simple blouse and comfortable jeans, and made her way to check on Oliver. She found him sprawled across the bed, arms flung in different directions, still deep in sleep. Smiling, she carefully closed his door and decided to take a short walk around the courtyard, hoping the fresh morning air would quell her lingering worries. The courtyard's tiled path felt cool beneath her flats. Potted olive trees framed the arches leading to a small garden in back. Lily inhaled the scent of dew and wildflowers. Her mind went to the baby she carried, a secret that felt ever more like a weight tied to her every breath. Soon she would have to decide. Was it worth risking her new stable life to confide in Nathaniel, or should she continue hiding the truth? As she rounded a corner, she spotted Nathaniel standing by a low stone wall overlooking the meadows. He was dressed casually today in a crisp shirt and dark trousers, hair slightly ruffled by the morning breeze. The hush of the villa enfolded them, and Lily felt an odd sense of intimacy in seeing him like this. No phone in hand, no business veneer. He turned, noticing her. "Good morning," he said quietly, giving a half-smile. "Did you sleep all right?" She cleared her throat, stepping closer. "Better than I expected, considering it was a new place." Her eyes flicked to the horizon. "It's really beautiful here." Nathaniel nodded. "My father used to bring me to estates like this when I was young, back when he was building connections in the countryside." He paused, his expression unreadable. "I thought Oliver could benefit from seeing there's more to life than skyscrapers and boardrooms." Lily studied him, glimpsing a momentary vulnerability behind his composed demeanor. "He loves it," she said softly. "He's already talking about learning to ride horses." A faint chuckle escaped Nathaniel, but worry lined his face. "Yes, he mentioned that. I'll see if we can arrange lessons, maybe once in a while. Between school and everything else," he trailed off, pressing his lips together. Without quite meaning to, Lily placed a gentle hand on his forearm. "You're doing fine," she said. "Oliver looks up to you. If he wants to ride, or if he has other interests, you'll guide him. You're a good father." Nathaniel looked down at her hand, then at her. Emotion flickered in his eyes, something like gratitude or maybe longing. "I hope so," he murmured. Sometimes I feel I'm stumbling through it all, making it up as I go." "Every parent does," Lily offered, feeling the words resonate more deeply than he could know. She almost added, "I know that fear myself," but she stopped. Her pulse thudded, the secret pressing against her. She willed herself to stay silent. After a moment, Nathaniel nodded, gently stepping back to reclaim the composed space between them. "We have most of the day free," he said more formally. "There's a stable tour at noon, if Oliver's up for it. Then we can have lunch here and drive back in the late afternoon." "That sounds good," Lily replied. The tension from the previous evening, Cassandra's intrusion, lingered in her mind. She wondered if Nathaniel had managed to rid himself of her presence, but she didn't dare ask. Instead, she rubbed her palms together. "I'll get Oliver ready whenever he's up." Nathaniel glanced toward the villa. "Thank you." They parted ways, Lily heading back inside as the soft light played across the rustic walls. Once near Oliver's room, she found him awake and already rummaging through his belongings, excitedly picking out an outfit. "I want to see horses," he declared. "Dad said we can?" "Absolutely," Lily said, helping him straighten his t-shirt. She led him to breakfast in a cozy nook off the kitchen, where warm pastries and fresh fruit awaited. Oliver devoured everything, fueled by the eager energy of a child ready for adventure. Late morning saw the three of them, Lily, Oliver, and Nathaniel, walking down a sun-baked path toward the stables. The villa's owners had graciously invited them for a private tour. Lily kept a watchful eye on Oliver, who bounded ahead to peer at the majestic horses lined up in neat rows of stalls. An attendant greeted them, explaining which horses were friendly with children and which ones were top polo mounts. Oliver was transfixed. He carefully extended his hand to pat a gentle mare's muzzle, squealing with delight when the horse nickered softly. Lily couldn't help smiling at his joy. She felt Nathaniel pause beside her, arms folded, attention on his son. "Thank you," he said under his breath. She glanced at him, puzzled. "For what?" He kept his gaze on Oliver. "For helping me see this side of him, that he's just a little boy who loves simple things. I sometimes forget what it's like to just let him be a kid." Lily's heart twisted. "You're welcome. I think he'd say the same if he knew how much you've provided." Nathaniel gave a small nod, turning toward her. There was a softness to his eyes that seemed so at odds with the ruthless business persona she'd first encountered. He opened his mouth as if to say more, but a sudden bark of laughter from Oliver, attempting to mimic the horse's snort, interrupted the moment. They both laughed, and the spell broke. The attendant led them through a brief lesson on grooming, letting Oliver brush one of the calmer horses. Lily stood back, content to watch, though a pang of dizziness tugged at her again. She quickly leaned against a stall's wooden beam, inhaling slow breaths. Nathaniel caught her movement from the corner of his eye. "Miss Summers, are you feeling all right?" His voice held genuine concern as he edged closer. She forced a smile, pushing off the beam. "I'm okay. Probably just the heat." She willed her body to cooperate. "Don't worry, I'll be fine." He didn't look convinced, but nodded slowly. "If it gets worse, tell me. I can call a doctor if needed." There was no mistaking the seriousness in his tone. Lily tried to appear relaxed, although panic nipped at her. One call to a doctor would reveal her pregnancy in a heartbeat. She had to manage these spells on her own, so she mustered a resolute expression and changed the subject, asking about the horse's breeding, trying to keep attention off herself. When they wrapped up at the stable, Oliver pranced around with an imaginary lasso, urging Lily and Nathaniel to watch him round up cattle. She indulged him, encouraging his playful gallop, while Nathaniel took a few photos on his phone, something Lily was sure Oliver would treasure. Even in her swirling anxiety, Lily found herself warmed by the sight of father and son bonding more naturally than she'd seen before. They returned to the villa for lunch, a simpler meal served in the airy courtyard, fruit, salads, and freshly baked bread. Lily noted that Nathaniel refrained from any wine or champagne, perhaps wanting to remain alert in case Oliver needed him. She appreciated the subtle shift in priorities, though it only deepened her sense of guilt about her hidden condition. The more she saw the fatherly care Nathaniel was capable of, the more she questioned her decision to keep him in the dark about the child she carried. His child. As they finished lunch, the staff began packing up. The plan was to depart by mid-afternoon, hoping to reach home before dusk. Lily helped gather Oliver's toys and clothes, ensuring nothing was left behind in his room. Meanwhile, Nathaniel supervised the loading of suitcases into the SUV, but as Lily stepped into the hallway with an armful of items, a wave of fatigue crashed over her again. She stumbled, bumping into the wall. The objects in her grasp nearly tumbled to the floor. In an instant, Nathaniel was there, gripping her arm to steady her. "Careful!" he admonished, alarm coloring his face. He guided her to a nearby bench, his hand firm on her shoulder. "Sit!" She sank onto the bench, heart pounding from the near fall. She struggled to control her breathing, blinking away the gray edges creeping into her vision. "I'm sorry," she managed. "I must have moved too fast." Nathaniel crouched in front of her, eyes narrowed. "This is the second time I've seen you stumble in as many days." His voice was quiet but urgent. "You're not telling me something." A wave of panic seized Lily. She swallowed, lowering her gaze. It's nothing serious. I sometimes get lightheaded under stress." He exhaled, frustration mingled with concern. "Why didn't you say anything earlier?" He glanced around, then spoke more gently. "I want to help, Lily. If you're unwell, I'll have my personal physician take a look." "No!" she interjected, startling them both with her vehemence. She forced a calmer tone. "No, I appreciate it really, but I promise I don't need a doctor. It's just been an exhausting few days, traveling and all. I'll be fine once I rest at home." Nathaniel studied her, disbelieving, but didn't press further. He let out a measured breath. "All right, but the moment you feel unwell again, you come to me. Understood?" She nodded stiffly, willing her body to appear composed. "Yes, Mr. Hawthorne." He flinched a bit at the formality, but rose to his full height. "We'll head out soon, please. Don't lift anything else if you're dizzy." With that, he departed, leaving Lily to sit on the bench, adrenaline crashing through her in waves. She felt unsteady, not just physically but emotionally. Another close call. One more sign that she couldn't keep up the charade forever. The baby was taking more and more from her each day, draining her energy. And if someone like Cassandra or even Nathaniel made a few connections, it'd all unravel faster than she could manage. Steeling herself, Lily stood carefully. She forced a steady stride as she joined the others at the SUV where Oliver was already buckled in, excitedly recounting his horse adventure. The ride back to the city promised hours of silent reflection, hours in which Lily would have to maintain her composure. She slipped into the back seat beside Oliver, nodding to the driver politely. Nathaniel took his usual place in the front passenger seat, but Lily saw how he angled the rearview mirror toward her, anxiety evident in his gaze. She looked away, pretending to focus on Oliver's chatter. The SUV glided away from the villa, leaving behind the picturesque escape. In its wake, Lily carried new layers of dread and a faint glimmer of longing for a simpler life, a life where she could have told the truth without risking everything. As the miles passed, Lily realized she was indeed crossing a threshold. There was a choice looming, either reveal her pregnancy soon on her own terms, or risk it being discovered through an unplanned crisis. Neither path seemed simple or safe. But if the last 2 days had taught her anything, it was that illusions cannot hold forever. They never do. Back in the heart of Miami, the Hawthorne mansion shimmered under the afternoon sun. High gates opened smoothly to admit the returning SUV, and the neatly trimmed hedges lining the driveway offered a familiar sight. As soon as the car came to a halt, Oliver bounded out, chattering about the stables and the horses he'd seen. Lily followed, more slowly, quietly thanking the driver. Her limbs still felt heavy, and a mild headache pulsed behind her eyes. From the front steps, the house staff appeared to assist with unloading suitcases. Nathaniel paused to issue a few quick instructions regarding mail and messages that had arrived in their absence. Then, with a nod toward Lily, he turned to check on Oliver. Oliver was thrilled to be home, dashing inside to retrieve a favorite toy. Lily couldn't help smiling at his energy, though worry continued to churn in her chest. She busied herself, sorting through Oliver's luggage, making sure he hadn't left anything behind in the SUV. As she finished, Nathaniel approached, leaning against one of the tall marble columns in the foyer. "How's Oliver?" Lily asked in a low voice, sensing his presence even before she fully turned around. "He's fine," Nathaniel replied. He crossed his arms, attention fixed on her. "He'll probably talk about horses for the next week straight." Lily managed a slight laugh. "That's good. It means he enjoyed himself." Nathaniel's gaze sharpened. "And you? Are you feeling any better?" She swallowed, recalling her near stumble at the villa. "Yes, a bit. The ride back helped me rest." There was an awkward pause. He looked as though he wanted to press the issue. Instead, he inhaled and changed the subject. "I have a meeting in about an hour, but I'll be back for dinner. Are you all right to keep an eye on Oliver until then?" "Of course," Lily said, forcing a light tone. "We'll find something fun to do." He nodded, relief and lingering concern both etched in his features. "Good. Thank you." Without further ado, he left, footsteps echoing across the marble floor. Lily watched him disappear into his private study, a sense of dread coiling tighter in her stomach. Another day of secrets, another day of pushing herself to appear normal. She desperately needed time to think, to plan how she would navigate this pregnancy. But for now, her duties beckoned. She set off to find Oliver, who was sprawled on the living room rug with a stack of books. "Want me to read to you, or do you want to read to me?" she asked, sinking down beside him. Oliver grinned. "You read! My throat's tired from talking all day." She chuckled, choosing a short story about a courageous cat sailing the seas. As she read in a gentle, animated tone, Oliver nestled against her side, fully engrossed. For a while, Lily forgot her own troubles, content to watch his eager expressions change with the unfolding adventure. When the story ended, Oliver ran off to find colored pencils, determined to draw his own sea cat pictures. Lily tidied the living room, passing by the wide windows overlooking the orchard. A curious movement outside caught her attention, two figures walking side by side along the garden path. She recognized Maria the housekeeper, who seemed to be talking intently with a slender, well-dressed woman. The woman's posture felt vaguely familiar. A chill trickled through Lily. Cassandra. Lily pressed closer to the glass. Yes, it had to be Cassandra Whitney. Even from a distance, her posture and polished gestures were unmistakable. What was she doing here again, so soon after their trip? Lily exhaled slowly. Perhaps Cassandra had come by to speak with Nathaniel about business or social matters. Yet Lily's gut churned. She recalled Cassandra's suspicious manner at the villa, her knack for prying into Lily's life. A knock on the living room door made Lily jump. Maria peeked in, face unreadable. "Miss Summers? There's a guest for you in the front sitting area." "For me?" Lily asked, heart stuttering. "Are you sure?" Maria nodded. "She specifically asked for Oliver's nanny. Mr. Hawthorne is in a meeting, so I told her you'd be informed." It had to be Cassandra. Panic fluttered in Lily's chest, but she remained outwardly composed. "Thank you, Maria. I'll be right there." Once the housekeeper left, Lily pressed a hand to her abdomen, steadying her breath. She glanced at Oliver, who was happily sketching sea creatures. "Stay here, sweetheart. I'll be back in a minute," she told him gently. He nodded without looking up, lost in his creativity. Lily walked toward the foyer with cautious steps, each footfall echoing in her mind. Entering the front sitting area, a bright salon lined with tall windows, She found Cassandra perched daintily on a velvet settee, ankles crossed, exuding confidence. Her gaze swept across the room until it settled on Lily. "Good afternoon," Cassandra greeted, voice dripping with practiced warmth. "I've been longing to chat, Miss Summers. So nice to see you again." Lily gave a polite nod. "Ms. Whitney, I wasn't aware you'd be visiting today. Nathaniel's in a meeting." Cassandra waved a dismissive hand. "It's quite all right. I actually wanted a moment with you." She patted the cushion beside her, a gesture that felt more like a command. "Please, join me." Pride stung, but Lily swallowed and carefully sat a short distance away. "How can I help you?" Cassandra angled her head, studying Lily with unsettling intensity. "You know, I've watched over Nathaniel since he was a boy. His father was a dear friend. Of course, Nathaniel is grown now, but I can't help worrying over his choices, especially regarding Oliver's caregivers." The note of condescension in her words ignited Lily's unease. She forced a neutral smile. "I understand your concern. Oliver is fortunate to have many caring adults in his life." "Indeed," Cassandra said coolly. "Still, I find it curious that you suddenly emerged in that role. I've heard so little about your background, where you come from, what you did before." She let the implication hang in the air. Lily's pulse raced. She kept her expression calm, though. "I was recommended to Mr. Hawthorne by a mutual connection," she answered, her tone clipped. "As for my past, I've worked with children in several positions." "Of course." Cassandra's eyes flickered, a cat-like glint of satisfaction. "I'm sure you're quite competent, but competence alone doesn't ensure there aren't complications." She paused meaningfully. "Sometimes people hide things, financial troubles, questionable relatives, even medical issues." Lily's throat went dry. Had Cassandra somehow guessed her secret? "I'm not sure what you're implying," she managed. Cassandra offered a sympathetic tilt of the head. "Only that if you do have some complication, it's best to be transparent. Nathaniel values honesty above all. He has enough to worry about without a scandal, especially one that might affect Oliver." Her smile sharpened. "You wouldn't want that sweet boy dragged into unpleasant drama, would you?" Anger and fear melded in Lily's chest. She couldn't let Cassandra intimidate her, but she also had no safe ground to stand on. "I'd never do anything to hurt Oliver," she said firmly. "I'm here to take care of him." "Then we share the same goal." Cassandra crossed her legs, elegantly triumphant. "I just want to be sure Nathaniel and Oliver aren't blindsided by any secrets, because secrets do have a way of surfacing." A tense beat passed. Lily's mind raced for a response that wouldn't incriminate her further. "I have no secrets relevant to my work," she lied, voice steadier than she felt. "Oliver's well-being is my priority." Cassandra considered her for a long moment, then stood smoothly. "Wonderful. That's exactly what I hoped to hear." She adjusted her handbag and looked toward the foyer. "I'll see myself out then. Please give Oliver my regards." She pivoted, offering a last pointed glance over her shoulder. "And do think about what I said, dear. If something lurks in your past, it's kinder to come forward than to let it fester into a scandal." The words lingered like poison in the air. Lily remained on the settee as Cassandra's heels clicked away. Only when the front door closed did she exhale, trembling. Her stomach felt hollow, anxiety threatening to overwhelm her. Cassandra's insinuations were clear enough. She suspected Lily was hiding something, and this meddling woman would likely keep digging until she found the truth. A moment later, footsteps approached the room. Lily jerked upright, expecting Maria or perhaps a curious staff member. Instead, Nathaniel appeared in the doorway, brow furrowed. "I just saw Cassandra leaving." His gaze flicked to Lily's face. What did she want? Lily rose, smoothing her skirt as she tried to collect herself. "She said she wanted to chat," she replied, forcing a casual tone. "Apparently, she was concerned about your choices for Oliver's caretaker." Her laugh was shaky. She didn't seem all that friendly. Nathaniel's expression tightened. "I'm sorry if she made you uncomfortable. She's infamous for meddling." He sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "I'll speak with her about this." Lily swallowed the impulse to confide everything Cassandra implied. Fear clashed with a part of her that wanted his protection. But would honesty now only draw suspicion to her pregnancy? She forced a shrug. "There's no need to cause trouble. I just wanted you to know she dropped by." Nathaniel exhaled, relieved. "All right. If she pesters you again, tell me immediately." His eyes lingered on her, noticing something in her expression. Concern flickered, but he held back. "Oliver's in the living room?" "Yes, drawing," Lily confirmed quietly. Nathaniel nodded and left, presumably to check on his son or wrap up pending business. Once alone, Lily sank into the sofa, pressing trembling hands to her abdomen as if to shield the life inside. Cassandra might be unstoppable. The next time, she might corner Lily with direct proof, an overheard rumor from a doctor or a staff member. The entire world of wealthy elites thrived on gossip and back-channel whispers. Tears pricked Lily's eyes, the weight of her secret feeling suddenly impossible to bear. But she steadied herself, inhaling shakily. She couldn't crumble now, not with Oliver depending on her. Not when her mother's treatments hung on the line. The security of this position was everything. Her mind drifted to that moment at the villa when Nathaniel gently insisted she see a doctor. If she fainted again, or became visibly ill, she wouldn't be able to stop him from calling for help. Then there would be no hiding the baby's presence. And if he discovered how close she was to her second trimester, the timeline would reveal a harsh truth. The baby was conceived before she ever started working here, a secret from her past, or so he would believe unless he fully connected the dots. She felt nauseous, whether from stress or the pregnancy, she couldn't be sure. With slow breaths, she forced herself to stand, brushing away hot tears. She needed to maintain composure, for Oliver, for the sake of her own livelihood, but a part of her longed for an impossible scenario, telling Nathaniel the truth and him reacting not with outrage, but with understanding. Yet that felt like a child's dream. Her own experiences taught her that men of power didn't welcome messy entanglements. Gathering her frayed resolve, Lily walked back to the living room where Oliver was still immersed in drawing. She promised him they'd bake cookies together after dinner, a plan that lit up his face instantly. As he rattled off favorite cookie flavors, Lily made herself focus on the present. She wouldn't let Cassandra or her own fear poison these small moments of joy. Still, at the edges of her mind, a storm brewed. Cassandra's words echoed. Secrets do have a way of surfacing. Each passing day, the lines Lily walked grew thinner, and the time she had to quietly slip out of Nathaniel's world grew shorter. Because soon, her body would speak the truth even if she refused to. And once that happened, there would be no going back. The next few days at the Hawthorne mansion fell into a surprisingly peaceful routine. Oliver settled back into his regular schedule, afternoon tutoring, evening playtime, and nighttime stories. His excitement over the countryside trip lingered, fueling frequent drawings of horses and countryside scenes which he proudly showed to Lily and sometimes to Nathaniel. For Lily, each day was a delicate dance to appear calm and capable while the pregnancy silently advanced. She carefully managed her energy, sneaking breaks when Oliver was with his tutor or engrossed in a quiet activity. Fatigue gnawed at her. Occasionally, mild dizziness returned, but she fought it off with determined focus. The fear of discovery pressed on her constantly, driving her to silence. Cassandra hadn't reappeared in person, but Lily remained hyper-aware that the woman might be digging for information. Twice, Lily caught staff members whispering in corners, casting sideways glances her way. Whether they speculated on her closeness with Nathaniel or something else, she couldn't tell. Either way, she feared it might funnel back to Cassandra. One evening, Lily managed to slip out to the orchard for a moment of solitude while Oliver was reading in bed. Outside, dusk tinted the sky a deep purple. She inhaled the gentle perfume of orange blossoms, letting the hush of the sprawling grounds soothe her nerves. Being in nature usually calmed her. She drifted down a winding path until she reached a small fountain where water trickled serenely. All at once, she felt the baby flutter, a softer movement than a full kick, but strong enough to make her catch her breath. Her hand pressed instinctively to her stomach. The connection startled her. The baby felt so real at times, yet her circumstances remained so precarious. She closed her eyes, swallowing emotion. A gentle cough behind her made her spin around, heart lurching. Nathaniel stood at the edge of the path, hands in his pockets. He wore a casual sweater and slacks, an outfit she rarely saw him in. "Sorry," he said softly. "I didn't mean to scare you. I was looking for you." Oliver wanted to say good night before drifting off. "Oh, yes, I just needed a little air," Lily stammered, forcing a smile. She quickly dropped her hand from her abdomen, praying he hadn't noticed. Nathaniel nodded. "Everything all right?" "Fine," she said, her voice sounding too bright. "Just unwinding." He studied her in the dim light. "You seemed preoccupied." Lily exhaled, glancing at the fountain. "I've had a lot on my mind," she admitted vaguely, determined not to reveal more than necessary. "I'm sorry if it's affected my work with Oliver." "No, not at all. He's been happy this week," Nathaniel assured her. Stepping closer, he motioned to the fountain's low stone ledge. "May I sit?" She nodded, and he lowered himself beside her. The gentle plashing of water filled the silence. In the glow from the path lights, his expression held a curious blend of concern and restraint. "I've noticed how tired you've seemed lately," he said quietly. "I don't want to intrude on your personal life, but if there's something I can do, please tell me." Lily's heart thumped. She clenched her hands in her lap. "You've already done a lot, Mr. Hawthorne. I don't want to burden you with my problems." "You're not a burden, Lily," he murmured, voice surprisingly gentle. "Oliver trusts you. I trust you. That trust goes both ways, doesn't it?" The weight of that statement squeezed her chest. She swallowed, tears threatening at the corners of her eyes. "Trust," she thought bitterly. "I'm withholding so much." A moment passed before she managed a small nod. "You're kind," she whispered. "I'm just dealing with some family responsibilities and, well, health matters. But it's under control." His gaze lingered on her face as though seeking signs of deception. Slowly, he nodded. "All right," he conceded. "But if it ever becomes too much, promise you'll come to me. I won't judge or pry. I just want to help." Lily forced a smile, warmth mingling with guilt. "I promise. Thank you." They sat in silence for another minute, the air taut with unspoken possibilities. Lily wondered if he sensed how fast her heart was beating, how her entire body trembled with the urge to be honest, and the terror of what honesty would bring. But Nathaniel simply pushed to his feet, offering her a hand. "Oliver's waiting," he said softly. She accepted his help, rising from the fountain's edge. Together they walked back toward the mansion. The garden lights illuminated the gentle slope of the orchard, and the scent of blossoms wove into the twilight. At the doors, Nathaniel paused to open one for her, a small courtesy that made her chest tighten. When they reached Oliver's room, the boy was sitting up with heavy eyelids. Upon seeing Lily and his father, he beamed, asking Lily for a quick lullaby. She obliged, humming a gentle tune in a soft voice. Nathaniel remained by the doorway, arms folded, watching them. In that instant, Lily felt a strange semblance of family, a sense of unity that hadn't been there before. Oliver's small hand grasping Lily's Nathaniel's protective presence just behind them. When the song ended, Oliver murmured, a half-asleep, "Thank you," and Lily tucked him in, brushing hair from his forehead. She slipped out into the corridor, aware that Nathaniel followed. He gave her a faint smile. "Good night," he said, voice quiet, but warm. "Good night," she replied, pulse still fluttering. She retreated to her bedroom as he headed for his own. Once inside her small, cozy space, she leaned against the door, closing her eyes. The baby stirred again, as if sharing her tumult of emotions. "This is so complicated," she thought, pressing a hand to her abdomen. She cared for Oliver deeply, and for all the walls around Nathaniel, she sensed he had a good heart underneath. If circumstances were different, if she hadn't already been pregnant, maybe she could imagine a future here. But her reality was unyielding. She opened her eyes to the quiet darkness, forcing herself to remain logical. She was nearly 4 months pregnant now. Soon, no amount of loose clothing would hide the truth. Somehow, she'd have to plan her exit, or risk everything in a confession that might shatter the fragile trust she'd built. A few days later, Lily's schedule resumed its typical flow. Morning routines, afternoon lessons, a bit of playtime before dinner. Nathaniel's demands at the office surged once more, leaving him less present but still checking in with Oliver in the evenings. One afternoon, while Oliver was in a tutoring session, Lily used the break to call her mother's care facility and check on the latest treatment updates. The news was mixed. Her mother was stable, but the new round of therapies would require an even larger sum. Lily thanked them and ended the call, heart heavy. The security of her position under Nathaniel's employment was more vital than ever. This job and its health coverage were her lifeline, and her mother's. Meanwhile, whispers about Cassandra flitted among the staff. Apparently, she'd invited herself to a gala that Nathaniel was scheduled to attend the following weekend. Lily overheard Maria mention how Cassandra was always loitering on the fringes of the Hawthorne family circle, ready to pounce on any opportunity to gain favor or uncover secrets. The staff's hushed talk only stoked Lily's unease. She had no doubt Cassandra was still circling, waiting for a crack. Late that evening, Lily was tidying Oliver's room after putting him to bed when a gentle knock sounded on the half-open door. She turned to see Nathaniel standing there, tie loosened, looking weary. "Is Oliver asleep?" he asked quietly. She nodded. "Just now. He was out like a light." Nathaniel stepped in, surveying his son's sleeping form with a tenderness that made Lily's chest ache. "Sometimes I wonder if he dreams about his mother," he said suddenly, voice low. "She left when he was so young, but I know he has fragments of memories." Lily braced herself. She'd never heard him speak so openly about Oliver's mother. "He's never brought it up with me," she admitted softly. "But if he does, I'll be there to listen." Nathaniel's gaze flicked to hers, gratitude swirling in his eyes. "Thank you." He paused. "I know I'm not the easiest person to work with. I'm grateful you're here." Her heart fluttered. "I'm happy to help. He deserves all the support he can get." A nod passed between them, a silent understanding. Nathaniel exhaled and ran a hand through his hair. "I have another long day at the office tomorrow, but I'll be back in time for dinner with Oliver. Let me know if anything comes up." Lily sensed he meant more than just Oliver's day. She offered a mild smile. "I will. Good night, Mr. Hawthorne." He gave a brief, warm nod and exited, leaving her alone with the hush of the night. Once again, Lily felt that strange mix of closeness and distance, like a seesaw tipping between them. She tiptoed to her own room, pressing a hand to her belly as she prepared for bed. The baby was becoming more active, gentle flutters occasionally catching her off guard. Whispering a soft lullaby, she tried to soothe both herself and the life inside her. "Just a little more time," she promised silently. "Let me find the right way to handle this." Maybe she could hold on until her mother's health stabilized, then slip away from the Hawthorne orbit, leaving behind only gratitude for the kindness and security Nathaniel had provided. Oliver would miss her, yes, but kids were resilient, and he'd have another caretaker soon enough. She slept fitfully, though, haunted by images of Cassandra, of doctors discovering her secret, of Nathaniel's face contorting in betrayal. Each dream ended in panic, her heart racing in the darkness. Morning came too soon. Lily, yawning, hurried through her routine and arrived in Oliver's room to greet him for breakfast. She found him hopping around with excitement. "Dad said I can go with him to the office for a bit today," the boy announced. "He wants to show me the new building they bought." Lily's eyebrows lifted. Oliver had never accompanied Nathaniel to the office before, as far as she knew. "That's wonderful," she said, laughing at his enthusiasm. "You'll see where all those phone calls and meetings happen, huh?" "Yes. Can you come too?" Her stomach twisted at the invitation. "I think your dad may want some father-son time," she said gently. "But I'll be here when you get back. Maybe we can make lunch together." Oliver relented, though disappointment flickered in his eyes. Lily patted his shoulder. The truth was, she dreaded the idea of being around the hustle of Hawthorne Enterprises in her current condition, uncertain who might see her and what might slip out. Safer to remain in the mansion's familiar walls. Later that morning, Nathaniel briefly appeared in the foyer with Oliver, both dressed neatly. He confirmed that Lily would remain at the mansion and keep the usual routine. "I'll only have him with me for a couple of hours," Nathaniel explained. "I want to show him some offices. Then I'll bring him home before lunch." "Of course," Lily said, smiling at Oliver. "Have fun, you two." Oliver waved goodbye, following Nathaniel out to a sleek company car waiting in the driveway. Lily stood by the window, watching them pull away. For a moment her heart clenched with a longing she couldn't name, something about missing out on this father-son excursion, about the life forming inside her, about wanting so badly to share in something more. She pushed the thought aside. With Oliver gone, she had a precious chance to rest or catch up on errands around the house without worry. She decided to tackle a bit of laundry. Oliver's clothes were scattered from the recent trip, and then maybe sit down with a cup of tea. The laundry room was tucked away near the mansion's rear, a surprisingly modern space with state-of-the-art machines. Lily sorted clothes, humming quietly. As she loaded Oliver's bright t-shirts, a dull ache pulsed in her lower back. She paused, pressing a hand there. Another pregnancy symptom, she reminded herself. At least it wasn't dizziness this time. Her mind wandered to her mother's treatments, to the next bill looming. The contract Nathaniel had offered did include health coverage for her mother, but Lily still needed to cover extra expenses. She was saving nearly every penny of her salary. If she could just maintain this job for a few more months, long enough to secure enough funds, she could then slip away quietly, maybe move near her mother's facility, raise her child in a small, peaceful place. She was lost in these thoughts when footsteps approached from behind. Surprised, she glanced over her shoulder to see one of the junior housekeepers. The young woman hesitated before speaking. "Miss Summers? There's a visitor at the gate. She claims she's a relative of yours." Lily frowned, confusion sparking. "A relative? I don't have any family here besides my mother, who's in a care facility." The housekeeper shrugged apologetically. "She insists she's your cousin or something. The gate staff wouldn't let her in without approval." A cold trickle of dread slid through Lily's spine. Could Cassandra have concocted a story to corner her again? Or was it some kind of con artist? Did she give a name? "Yes," the housekeeper said, unfolding a small slip of paper. "She said to tell you it's Nicole Summers." Lily's heart nearly stopped. Nicole was indeed a relative, her half-sister, in fact. They'd fallen out of touch years ago. She couldn't fathom what Nicole was doing in Miami, or how she'd found her here. Alarm bells rang. If Nicole was here, it couldn't be good. They'd parted on complicated terms. Nicole had a knack for drama. She also knew Lily's secrets, including details about the pregnancy. Panic swelled. "Where is she now?" Lily asked, throat tight. "At the main gate, arguing with security," the housekeeper answered. "They called for your instruction." Lily's mind whirled. She couldn't let Nicole cause a scene. Not in front of staff, or God forbid if Nathaniel came back early. Her palms went clammy. I'll go talk to her." She forced steadiness into her voice. "Tell the gate staff I'm on my way." The housekeeper nodded and left quickly. Lily set down the laundry basket, drawing a sharp breath. This was the last thing she needed. Nicole couldn't have picked a worse time or place. But Lily had no choice. She had to calm her sister and send her away before she caused irreversible trouble. Straightening her blouse and wiping sweat from her brow, Lily hurried through the mansion's corridors and out to the main gates. She tried to keep her expression composed as security officers opened the wrought iron barrier just enough to let her out, then closed it behind her. Nicole Summers stood on the sidewalk, arms folded, her stance radiating impatience. She wore a tank top and ripped jeans, a backpack slung over one shoulder. Her dyed red hair hung in a messy ponytail, and heavy makeup outlined sharp eyes. "Lily, finally!" Nicole said, exasperation lacing her voice. "Your goons wouldn't let me in. What kind of fancy place is this?" Breathless, Lily gripped the gate's bars for support. "What are you doing here, Nicole?" she demanded in a hushed tone. This isn't a good time." Nicole huffed. "I've been trying to find you for weeks. You never answer your old phone. That caretaker job you took, some posh family, didn't realize you'd gone full rich people's nanny." She sneered, then softened slightly. "Look, I need a favor." Lily's heart sank. It was always a favor. "I can't do this right now," she muttered. "I'm working, and this—" She gestured to the gates. "This isn't my home. It belongs to my employer. You can't just show up." "Yeah, well, I need money," Nicole said bluntly. "I'm in a bind. I thought since you're living with millionaires, maybe you have some extra cash." Lily's stomach turned. Of course, the same old story. "I'm barely managing my own expenses," she rasped, thinking of her mother's bills and her precarious situation. "I can't help you." Nicole's expression twisted in frustration. "I don't believe that. You're living it up in this palace. You can't throw some cash my way?" Her gaze darted around. "Come on, sis, we're family." "We haven't talked in years." Lily shot back, temper flaring. "You never cared about me or Mom until now, and I'm not living it up. I'm employed here. Big difference." Nicole rolled her eyes. Right, the struggling little nanny. Still, you must have something. $100, $200, anything. I'm desperate, Lily. There's this guy after me for unpaid rent. If I don't pay soon, things could get ugly." Lily bit her lip, mind spinning. She did have some savings, but it was all earmarked for her mother and the baby. The idea of giving Nicole money sent a jolt of panic through her. Yet if Nicole made a scene, word might reach Nathaniel, or Cassandra could twist it. She glanced nervously at the security cameras overhead. "I can't do this here. If my boss finds out—" Nicole sensed weakness and pounced. "Then how about you slip me some cash and I'll disappear?" She narrowed her eyes. "Unless you want me to keep showing up, maybe I'll share some family gossip with your fancy employer." A trembling rage and terror filled Lily. She realized Nicole's implication. That gossip could include the pregnancy. "Please," Lily whispered, voice thick with desperation. "This isn't fair. We're sisters." "Doesn't feel like it," Nicole retorted. "I'm not walking away empty-handed. If you care about your job, you'll figure out how to help me." Trapped, Lily rummaged in her pocket. She had maybe $50 on her. That wouldn't satisfy Nicole. "I don't have much," she said, holding out the bills. "Take this. I'll see if I can get more at the end of the month. But you have to stop coming here." Nicole snatched the money, expression sour. "End of the month. I'll need more. Don't make me come back, Lily." She glared at the imposing mansion gates. Guess I'll find a motel for a few nights. Don't forget your promise." With that, Nicole turned on her heel and strode off down the sidewalk, leaving Lily trembling against the gate. Blood pounded in her ears. She knew this was just the beginning. Nicole had found her, and now she had blackmail fuel. If Cassandra ever caught wind of Lily's family troubles, or if Nicole decided to blab about Lily's pregnancy, the fallout could be catastrophic. Anxious, Lily pressed the buzzer to be let back inside. The security officer unlocked the gate with a heavy clang, and she re-entered the mansion grounds, head spinning. How had her carefully maintained life unraveled so quickly? She wanted to sob or scream, but all she could do was straighten her posture and walk back into the house. She had to figure out a way to keep Nicole off her back. Another complication in an ever-growing list, one that threatened to expose everything Lily had struggled to keep hidden. And with the future of her unborn child at stake, she couldn't afford any mistakes. The hours after Nicole's shocking visit felt like a blur. Lily half expected the security staff or one of the house employees to question her, to pry into who the uninvited woman was. But no one approached her directly. She could only assume that, for now, Nicole's presence had gone unnoticed or was chalked up to a mistaken visitor. Yet Lily couldn't shake the panic gripping her chest. She busied herself throughout the mansion, checking on Oliver's assignments, tidying bookshelves, folding laundry, anything to keep her mind from spiraling. But her hands trembled as she worked, and her thoughts kept crashing back to Nicole's threats. By mid-morning, Oliver returned with Nathaniel from the office, all smiles. The boy excitedly recounted the high-rise building, the sweeping city views, and the really cool elevator. Lily forced a bright face, relieved Oliver hadn't witnessed her confrontation outside. She served him a small snack of fruit and crackers, feigning an easy cheerfulness. Nathaniel, though, was not so easily fooled. He lingered in the kitchen, watching Lily bustle around with an air of distraction. Finally, in a moment of privacy, he caught her attention. "Are you sure you're all right?" he asked quietly, crossing his arms. "You look a bit shaken." She placed a glass of water on the counter, forcing a reassuring smile. "Just not sleeping well, maybe. But I'm fine." His brow furrowed, but he nodded, not pressing further. "If you're certain, I'll be in my study for a couple of hours, then perhaps I can spend time with Oliver this afternoon." "That sounds good." Lily tried to sound upbeat, though the knot in her stomach only tightened as he walked away. If he sensed something was off, it was only a matter of time before he dug deeper. That was Nathaniel's nature. He never tolerated unsolved mysteries in his life or business. Once Oliver scurried off to play, Lily retreated to her bedroom, shutting the door firmly behind her. She fumbled for her phone, breath unsteady. She hadn't heard from Nicole again, but it was only a matter of time. She stared at the screen, debating whether to call or text. Perhaps if she reasoned with her sister calmly, they could work out a plan, anything to stave off blackmail. But before she could decide, the phone buzzed in her hand, startling her. A text from an unknown number flashed on the screen. "Remember our deal. I need more money soon. Don't make me come back there." Nicole Lily's stomach dropped. Her fingers shook as she typed a reply. "Nicole, please. I'm doing my best. I can't just pull money out of thin air. Give me time." She hit send, heart hammering. The response came almost instantly. "Time is what I don't have. Figure it out, Lily, or I'll talk to that fancy boss of yours. I'm sure he'd love to know all about your situation." Lily's breathing quickened. She forced herself to stay calm, reminded of her vow to protect Oliver and to protect the unborn baby's future. She typed back, "Okay, end of the month, like we discussed before. It's the best I can do. Please don't come here again." A few tense seconds passed. Then a single reply. "Fine. End of the month. Don't be late." Relief, tinged with dread, washed over her. She had bought herself a few more weeks, but it was only a delay, not a solution. She'd have to skim from her savings, money she needed for her mother's treatments and her baby's arrival. It felt like an endless cycle of financial desperation. But what other option did she have? Tucking the phone away, Lily sank onto the edge of her bed, head in her hands. She closed her eyes, letting silent tears fall. She thought of telling the truth to Nathaniel, confessing her struggles, her pregnancy, everything, and hoping for compassion. But fear gripped her. He might see her as a liar, a schemer who'd hidden crucial facts. Even if he forgave her, the scandal could be seized upon by Cassandra or others in high society. Oliver's life would be flooded with rumors. No, Lily decided, pressing her palms against her aching eyes. She couldn't risk it. She had to stand firm, endure Nicole's demands, and wait for a moment when she could slip away quietly. Over the next week, Lily maintained the facade of normalcy. She woke early, helped Oliver with his morning routine, oversaw his lessons, played games in the afternoons. She smiled brightly whenever Nathaniel was around, exchanging polite updates on Oliver's progress. By appearances, everything was going smoothly. But underneath, she was unraveling. Her nights grew restless, haunted by nightmares of Nicole arriving at the mansion gates with a megaphone, shouting Lily's secrets for all to hear. The pregnancy advanced, her belly beginning to feel a subtle but undeniable swell. Loose blouses still concealed it, but not for much longer. She tried to rest whenever possible. One afternoon, while Oliver was engrossed in a puzzle game, Lily slipped into a quiet reading nook near the library and dozed off. 20 minutes later, she woke with a start to find Nathaniel standing nearby, arms folded, brow tense. "Lily?" he said gently. "You all right?" She jolted upright. "Sorry, I must have drifted off for a moment." She rubbed her face, mortified. "I didn't realize how tired I was." Concern etched his features. "Oliver's fine, don't worry. But are you sure you're okay?" He lowered his voice. "You've been looking pale again." She mustered a smile. "Just worn out. It's nothing serious." Nathaniel paused, as though weighing his next words. "If there's something in your personal life that's taking a toll on you, I want you to know you can come to me. I won't pry, but I notice how hard you're pushing yourself." Her throat tightened. She wanted so badly to crumble into honesty, to let him see her fear and desperation. But she couldn't. So she forced another small smile. "Thank you. But I promise. It's manageable." He exhaled, not fully satisfied. "If your mind changes, my door's open." Then, with a quick glance to check Oliver's whereabouts, he left, footsteps echoing in the hushed corridor. Lily exhaled shakily. Another close call, another chance at honesty turned away. How long could she keep up this balancing act? That evening, Lily prepared a simple dinner for Oliver in the bright, modern kitchen. Nathaniel had texted, saying he'd be home late from a series of meetings. Oliver slurped his spaghetti cheerfully, unaware of the tension gripping Lily's heart. After washing up, Lily guided Oliver to the living room, promising they'd watch a short educational program before bed. She sank onto the sofa, feeling a swirl of exhaustion. Oliver snuggled beside her, resting his head on her arm. "Lily, are you sad?" he asked suddenly, eyes round with concern. The question startled her. "Why would you say that?" He shrugged, fiddling with the TV remote. "Sometimes you look like you want to cry. Did I do something wrong?" Her heart broke at the worry in his small voice. She wrapped an arm around him, hugging him gently. "No, honey, you haven't done anything wrong. I'm just a little tired. That's all." Oliver nodded, but looked unconvinced. "I can read you a story," he offered shyly. "The way you read to me. Maybe that'll help." Tears pricked Lily's eyes. His innocence and kindness touched her deeply. "That's the sweetest offer," she whispered. "Thank you. Maybe tomorrow you can read me a story." He grinned, pacified, then turned his attention to the children's show playing on the screen. Lily let the gentle, animated voices fill the living room, her thoughts drifting. If only she could protect Oliver from every bit of ugliness, her sister's threats, Cassandra's suspicions, the possible wrath of Nathaniel if secrets came to light. A soft sound in the foyer alerted her that Nathaniel had arrived. The clock read nearly 9 p.m. He stepped into the living room, tie loosened, exuding fatigue. "Long day," he said simply, ruffling Oliver's hair in greeting. Oliver gave a sleepy wave. "Hi, Dad. We're watching about dolphins." Nathaniel cast a glance at the TV, lips curving briefly. "That's nice. Don't stay up too late." Then his gaze locked on Lily. "Could we talk in my study for a moment?" Her pulse jumped. "Of course," she said, standing carefully. "Oliver, I'll be right back, all right?" The boy nodded, engrossed in the program. Lily followed Nathaniel across the foyer, heart pounding. When they reached his study, she stepped inside, nerves churning. The door closed with a soft thud behind them. The luxurious space felt suddenly confining, lined with dark wood paneling and that massive desk. Nathaniel moved behind it, leaning against the polished edge. "I'd like you to accompany Oliver and me to a charity gala this weekend," he said without preamble. Lily blinked. "A gala? Like a formal event?" Nathaniel inclined his head. "Yes, it's a black tie affair. I know it's last minute, but the organizers extended an invitation to Oliver. It's a family-oriented segment of the event. They'll have a children's area, activities, and so forth. I'd feel better if you were there to keep an eye on him while I handle the adult portion of the evening." Her stomach twisted. The idea of attending a high society event with her secret weighed heavily on her mind, especially if Cassandra might be present. But this was part of her job, wasn't it? If Oliver needed her, she had to comply. She forced a nod. "If you want me to go, of course. I'll do my best to dress appropriately." He gave a faint smile. "Thank you. I'll cover any wardrobe expenses if needed. I know that environment can be intense, but I trust you to help Oliver enjoy the night without me having to split my attention." She swallowed. "All right," she repeated. Inside, anxiety roared. "When is it?" 2 nights from now," Nathaniel said. "We can leave around 6 in the evening. Oliver and I will be in formal wear, just letting you know so you can plan." Lily nodded, mind spinning with details. She had one decent formal dress, but it might not fit so well around her midsection anymore. The baby bump was still small, but not invisible in the wrong outfit. She'd need to find something that masked her figure effectively. With a forced smile, she asked, Is there anything else I should know?" Nathaniel studied her. "No, just be prepared for a lot of cameras and some nosy acquaintances, but I'll keep Oliver close." His tone gentled. "Thank you, Lily. I appreciate it." She mustered a small nod, backing out of the study before her composure cracked. In the hallway, her breath came in shallow spurts. Another public event. Another chance for Cassandra or Nicole to surface. More potential for someone to notice her changing body. The wave of panic threatened to engulf her. She pressed a trembling hand over her abdomen. "Keep it together," she told herself. "Just a few more days, a few more weeks. Then, maybe I can slip away." Somehow she had to gather the extra money to appease Nicole, maintain her role in the mansion, and avoid Cassandra's meddling. She'd do whatever it took to protect Oliver, and to secure her baby's future, even if that meant walking a razor-thin line between truth and deception. Outside the windows, Miami's skyline glowed under the moonlit sky, a silent testament to the city's relentless pulse. Inside the mansion, Lily's world felt equally relentless, a storm of secrets, threats, and lingering hopes that refused to fade. And looming now was the gala, another grand stage where everything she'd hidden could so easily unravel in front of an audience full of cameras and curious eyes. The weekend arrived in a flurry of last-minute preparations. Lily spent the morning gathering her courage for the evening's gala, determined to ensure Oliver's safety and well-being above all. She couldn't shake the dread curling in her stomach. Cassandra would surely attend. and Nicole's demands still loomed. But she had to keep it together. This was part of her job. Shortly after lunch, garment bags were delivered to the mansion. Nathaniel's tailored tuxedo, Oliver's mini version, and a flowing evening gown for Lily. True to his word, Nathaniel had arranged for her to have a suitable dress, something formal yet understated. When Lily pulled it from its bag, she exhaled in relief. The dress was black, with a loose cut around the midsection and a high empire waist. It was elegant enough to wear to a grand event, but forgiving enough to conceal her barely rounding stomach. By 6 in the evening, the household buzzed with activity. Lily's hand shook as she zipped up the gown. She'd pinned her hair back in a simple chignon, a few strands softly framing her face. Carefully she checked the mirror, adjusting the flowing fabric over her abdomen. If she stood straight, no one would suspect. She hoped. A gentle knock at her bedroom door made her jump. "Yes?" she called, heartbeat thrumming. Oliver peeked in, dressed in his tiny tuxedo. He looked giddy and slightly uncomfortable in the stiff collar. "Lily, you look pretty," he announced with childlike candor. Her heart melted. "Thank you. You look so handsome, Oliver." She grinned, kneeling to straighten his bow tie. "Are you ready for a fancy party?" He wrinkled his nose. "I guess. Dad said they'll have desserts and maybe music, and there's a kids' area, right?" "That's what he said." She patted his shoulder. "Don't worry, we'll make sure it's fun." Together they headed downstairs, where Nathaniel awaited in the foyer. He wore a sleek black tuxedo, his hair neatly combed back, exuding an air of quiet command. Lily felt a jolt in her chest at the sight. He was striking, yes, but also carried a weariness around his eyes. The pressures of his life, or perhaps a hint of worry for tonight. When he saw Lily, he paused, something flickering behind his gaze. He cleared his throat. "You look lovely," he said softly, voice sincere. Heat rose to her cheeks. "Thank you for providing the dress. It's perfect." He nodded. Then, glancing at Oliver, who beamed proudly, Nathaniel mustered a small smile. "Let's go. Our driver is waiting." The drive to the gala was filled with Oliver's chatter. He asked about the building they were headed to, a grand hotel renowned for charity balls and high-profile functions. Lily answered lightly, trying to mask her apprehension. Nathaniel contributed a few details about the event's purpose, to raise funds for community mentorship programs, but Lily caught his occasional glances in the rearview mirror, directed at her. Concern or curiosity? She couldn't tell. Upon arrival, they were swept into a world of glittering chandeliers, red carpets, and photographers. Valets guided them through polished glass doors. Oliver clung to Lily's hand, wide-eyed at the glamorous setting. High society guests strolled around in designer gowns and sharp tuxedos, greeting each other with air kisses and hushed gossip. Almost immediately, staff members escorted them to a photo area. Lily tried to linger at the side, but a well-meaning organizer insisted on a group shot for the wonderful Hawthorne family. The camera's flashes blinded Lily momentarily, her heart pounding. She wasn't family, and yet she had no choice but to stand there, smiling with Nathaniel and Oliver. The swirl of guests, the bursts of light, it all felt terrifyingly precarious. Before they could escape, a familiar, cool voice chimed in behind them. "Nathaniel, darling, so glad you made it." Cassandra Whitney floated into view wearing a shimmering silver gown. Her sharp gaze slid over Lily with predatory curiosity. "And Oliver, how handsome. Miss Summers, good to see you again." Lily forced a polite nod. "Good evening," she managed, swallowing the lump in her throat. "Cassandra," Nathaniel said in a civil but distant tone, "we're here to support the mentorship fund." "Of course," Cassandra purred, turning to Oliver. "They have a lovely children's lounge set up for you, dear. You'll love it." Then, angling her body, she smoothly blocked Lily with her shoulder, speaking only to Nathaniel. "Shall I steal you for a moment, Nathaniel?" I'd love to introduce you to one of the program directors. I'm certain they'd value your input." Nathaniel glanced at Oliver, who was already eyeing the children's lounge sign across the ballroom. Lily knew it was her cue. "I can take Oliver to the kids' area," she offered. Nathaniel looked at her gratefully. "Thank you." To Oliver he said, "I'll join you shortly, buddy. Go have fun." Oliver nodded eagerly, waving as Lily led him away. From the corner of her eye, she saw Cassandra's triumphant smile as she guided Nathaniel toward a cluster of dignitaries. The tension in Lily's chest only wound tighter. Cassandra was determined to keep her away from him, or so it seemed. The children's lounge was surprisingly cheerful, decorated with bright balloons and staffed by nannies for the evening. Board games, art stations, and a small snack table kept the kids entertained. Oliver immediately jumped into a craft project. Lily stayed close, though her eyes strayed anxiously toward the main hall. She feared who else might appear, perhaps Nicole, though she doubted her sister would get past security. Yet Lily's nerves remained on edge. A half-hour passed without incident. Oliver was coloring happily with other children. Lily tried to relax. She chatted briefly with a kindly older nanny, steering clear of personal topics. The music from the ballroom drifted in, a string quartet softly playing. Then, unexpectedly, an attendant approached Lily. "Pardon me. Mr. Hawthorne requested that you join him by the silent auction area. He said Oliver is fine to stay here, but he needs your assistance with something urgent." Lily's heart jolted. Why would Nathaniel need her assistance at an auction table? "Oh, okay," she managed. She whispered to Oliver that she'd be right back, then followed the attendant across the crowded ballroom. She scanned the sea of elegant gowns and suits, searching for Nathaniel. Amid the throng, she finally spotted him, tall and composed, near a row of display tables. He was talking to someone, but the figure shifted. Cassandra again. Lily's stomach sank. As Lily approached, she sensed an odd air of intensity. Nathaniel looked up, relief flickering in his eyes when he saw her. Cassandra, however, wore a predatory smirk. "Miss Summers," she called out, voice carrying. "We were just discussing the possibility of the Hawthorne family funding an expansion of the program. Isn't that exciting?" "Very," Lily managed, stepping closer. She glanced at Nathaniel, hoping for a clue about what was happening. He stood rigid, jaw tight. Something wasn't right. Cassandra placed a manicured hand on the nearest auction display, a gorgeous painting. Nathaniel was about to place a bid, but I suggested we pause for a moment. There's a matter swirling around, and I thought clarity might benefit everyone. Lily's breath hitched. "What matter?" she forced out, dread pooling in her stomach. Cassandra's gaze cut sideways. "Oh, let's not pretend. Rumors circulate, you see. Rumors that Oliver's nanny, dear Lily, has been less than forthcoming about her condition." A rush of blood pounded in Lily's ears. She froze, mouth going dry. People nearby paused their conversations, sensing the tension. Some turned discreetly, ears pricked. Nathaniel's face darkened. "Cassandra, that's enough." She held up a hand in feigned innocence. "I only want to protect your reputation, Nathaniel. And Oliver's, of course. If Miss Summers here is carrying a secret that could impact your family name, wouldn't you want to know?" Lily's pulse thundered. She felt as though the world had stopped. She could almost sense guests swirling around them, eyes narrowing with curiosity. Cassandra was delivering the blow Lily had feared. Nathaniel's voice dropped to a dangerously quiet register. "Cassandra, you're out of line." He shifted his gaze to Lily, confusion and hurt flickering there. What is she talking about? Time slowed. Lily's mouth opened, but no sound emerged. Everything she'd tried to protect was unraveling in front of a public audience. Cassandra's expression gleamed with triumph. Suddenly, a new voice cut through the tension. "She's pregnant." A figure emerged from the crowd. Nicole, of all people, wearing a borrowed cocktail dress and a smirk of desperation. She pointed at Lily. "That's her secret. She's been pregnant for months." Shocked gasps rippled. Lily's vision blurred. How had Nicole gotten in? She must have used her last scraps of cunning or money to crash the gala. Lily's knees threatened to buckle. Nathaniel stepped forward, rage coloring his features. "Who the hell are you?" he demanded, voice vibrating. Nicole raised her chin. "Her sister, and you deserve to know. Lily's been lying. She's months along." Cassandra's eyes widened in malicious delight. "So it's true," she breathed, turning to Nathaniel. "I'm so sorry you had to find out this way." Lily's throat constricted with panic. Cameras clicked from somewhere, capturing the drama. Guest chatter buzzed louder. She glanced helplessly at Nathaniel, tears pricking her eyes. I wanted to tell you," she croaked. I couldn't. He stared at her, expression torn between fury, confusion, and something else deeper. "You're pregnant?" he repeated, voice raw. "All this time you hid it from me?" Trembling, Lily forced the words out. "Yes. I'm so sorry. I had no choice. It's not—" She couldn't formulate the rest, that it was his child. That she discovered it just before taking the job, stunned to realize from medical estimates that it must be him from a fleeting night months before. A misunderstanding, a moment she thought he'd forgotten. Before she could explain, Nicole seized the limelight again. "You might wonder who the father is, Mr. Hawthorne. Care to guess?" Her tone was mocking. Cassandra's triumphant gaze swept over them all. "Well, well," she murmured. "This is quite the scandal. Unless— Is the father you, Nathaniel?" Silence. Onlookers stared, riveted. Lily's world spun, tears falling. "It's his," she finally whispered, voice trembling. "From that night, months ago, when we crossed paths at that charity function. You probably don't even remember me. We ended up together for one evening, and I found out after." Nathaniel's eyes widened. Recognition and shock flashed across his face as memories surfaced. "That night in the hotel lounge? You left before I woke up?" His voice cracked off. Lily nodded, tears glistening. "I never meant to come here as your employee. It was a coincidence of references. Then I realized it was you. But I was desperate, for my mother's medical bills, for everything. I wanted to leave, but Oliver needed me and—" Cassandra's lips parted in delighted horror. "This is priceless," she breathed, scanning the horrified onlookers. Cameras captured Lily's tear-streaked face, Nathaniel's shock, Nicole's smugness. Everything Lily feared had come true. The hush of the crowd felt like a swirling vortex. She tried to speak again. "Nathaniel, I know this is— I'm so sorry." He stood rooted, heartbreak and anger warring in his eyes. Then, slowly, he reached for Lily's shaking hand. He turned to the assembled guests, voice steady despite the tumult. "You've heard enough. This is private business. I ask that everyone respect our family's privacy." A wave of murmurs rolled. Security staff edged closer, ushering onlookers away. Cassandra and Nicole hovered, uncertain. Furious determination sparked in Nathaniel's gaze. "Cassandra, if you spread so much as a whisper about this, we are done, permanently. And you—" He fixed Nicole with an icy stare. "I don't know what your game is, but stay away from Lily." The crowd parted as he guided Lily toward a side hallway, ignoring the cameras and gasps. Lily stumbled, tears streaming, her entire being shook. Oliver, she realized with a jolt. He was in the children's lounge, oblivious to the storm. In a quiet alcove, far from the main ballroom, Nathaniel paused, taking Lily by the shoulders. "Tell me everything," he demanded, voice raw, "from the beginning." Through choked sobs, Lily recounted her memory of that fleeting night, how they met at a small charity after-party, how he was reeling from a business deal that night, and she was there only by a friend's invitation. A mutual attraction sparked, an intense, unexpected connection. She left at dawn, certain they'd never meet again. Weeks later, she discovered her pregnancy, had no way to reach him, and no illusions that a wealthy CEO would recall a stranger's name. Then the caretaker job came up, and by the time she recognized who he was, she was too far in to turn back. Nathaniel's face mirrored shock and anguish. "Why didn't you just tell me?" he asked, voice thick. "Did you think I wouldn't believe you, that I'd reject my own child?" Lily pressed a hand over her mouth, tears still falling. "I was terrified, and yes, I wasn't sure you'd want me in your life. Then Oliver, he needed me and I couldn't walk away. I convinced myself I could keep it hidden." For a long moment, neither spoke. The soft echo of music from the ballroom seemed a cruel mockery. Then Nathaniel took a trembling breath. His eyes flicked to her abdomen. "Are you all right? Health-wise?" She wiped her tears, nodding. "Mostly. Just tired. I was so scared. I'm sorry." His gaze burned with conflicting emotions, betrayal, regret, and a fierce protectiveness. Slowly he reached out, resting a hand against her midsection. Lily sucked in a breath, tears returning at the gentleness of his touch. "This is my child," he said, half to himself, half to her. "My second child." She nodded, shaky. A flicker of tenderness glowed in his eyes. "Then we'll face this," he declared, voice trembling yet resolute. "Together." She stared at him, overwhelmed. "But the scandal, Cassandra, everyone—" He silenced her with a gentle press of his hand. "I don't care about them. I care about Oliver, and you, and the baby." His throat worked. "We'll figure out how to handle the gossip. Let them talk." Emotion surged in Lily. "You're not angry?" He paused. "I am. Angry at the secrecy, the circumstances, but I'm also responsible. I never meant to abandon you to this alone. You're carrying our child." His voice broke slightly. "I won't run from that." Relief and guilt collided inside her. She stepped closer, burying her face in his chest, letting the tears flow. His arms encircled her, pulling her close. For a few breathless moments, the chaos of the gala receded. Just them, hearts pounding in quiet unity. When they finally pulled apart, she asked in a shaky whisper, "What happens now?" Nathaniel cupped her cheek, eyes warm and solemn. "We go home. We talk to Oliver together. We ensure you get proper care. And we decide our future. Not what Cassandra or the tabloids want, but what's best for us." Her eyes flooded again, though this time with a fragile, wondrous hope. "I thank you," she whispered. The vow of trust she'd so longed for glimmered between them. He nodded, pressing his forehead to hers. "It won't be easy, but you have my word. I'll stand by you." Behind them, the muffled strains of music continued, but the night's biggest drama had reached its crescendo. Lily leaned into Nathaniel's embrace, heart still quivering, yet steadied by his presence. The secret she'd guarded for so long was finally in the open, and instead of destroying everything, it felt like a first step towards something real. Together, they left the alcove to retrieve Oliver, ignoring curious stares. Within hours, the gossip would spread through every corner of elite society, but Lily no longer felt utterly alone. In a swirl of emotion, relief, fear, gratitude, she clung to Nathaniel's hand, prepared to face the scandalous fallout and hopefully carve out a new life with the man who'd once been only a fleeting memory, and was now her partner, her child's father, and perhaps something far more profound, a chance at love. If you enjoyed this story, don't miss the next one. Just click on the screen.